You know what they say, you can never trust a Tony. Tony Santion and, well, another Reds loss. Let's get into it right now on First Word.
Welcome to First Word, Cincinnati's only morning sports show, breaking down the biggest moments and the stories shaping Cincinnati sports with analysis that cuts through. First Word, setting the agenda in Cincinnati sports.
Let's keep it rolling here on a Thursday edition of First Word. I'm James Rapien alongside Jacob Tissot. Marisa Contipelli has her feet up on vacation, and if you're a Tony out there, I was just joking. Obviously, Tony, the name right now, it's kind of rough.
It is.
For one Tony.
It is.
And Tony Santion, left a lot to be desired yesterday. The Reds fall to the Royals, and look, man, you can't lose to the Royals. You can't lose a series to the Royals. We are packed today, by the way. Brian Giesenstahl will join us at 8:30 in studio. 9 o'clock, Jeremy Fowler of ESPN. 10 o'clock, Joe Daneman of Fox 19. So locked, loaded. Notice there was no one named Tony.
No.
Because, well, he might have given up a long ball here, as we discussed. He might get the Geno Stone treatment. We might be close to getting that. No?
I mean, it's fair. It's more than fair.
We're going to dive into some of these stats. The Reds lose 5-2. They waste the Chase Burns start. People go after Jacob Tissot for making a point. Hey, if you're going to use Chase Burns, you better win. And you might not need to use him in June against the Royals. And that's how I kind of approach the series. It's like, all right, you have Abbott, you have Burns. You got to take 2 of 3 minimum.
Absolutely.
That did not happen. The Reds dropped to 31-30 on the year. They have lost 2 out of 3 to the Royals. They're off today. But Tony Santion, man, the game got away then. In the bullpen, a question. Santion, certainly a question. We're going to hear from Terry Francona in just a second on the 5-2 loss and on Santion. But rough for the Reds. You were there. You got to witness the Tony. Do you trust other Tonys?
I'll trust other Tonys.
Other Tonys, just not that Tony.
Do not trust Santion. And I think the first question I asked was the same question a lot of Reds fans asked when Ain't No Love in Oklahoma started playing in Great American Ballpark and he started running out of the bullpen. How is Tony Santion coming into a tie game in the 9th inning? He has been really bad in high leverage situations for over a month now, and that didn't change last night. It was a really ugly start for Santion. Gave the Reds a much bigger hole than they could hope to overcome in the bottom of the 9th, and I just don't know that there are many other options. That's where the Reds bullpen is right now. There's not a lot of faith in any of the arms back there, and half of that is injury related, and the other half is just guys aren't pitching the way they used to. And when Pagan got hurt a couple months ago, the conversation was, is it going to be Santion filling the closer role? And now he's pitching in the 9th, and there's no faith in him to get it done. So it's just been such a drastic shift for so many pitchers in that Reds bullpen in terms of the faith that you have in them, and Tony is certainly at the bottom of that list right now.
Yeah, Tonys are at the bottom. All right, I'm sorry. I'm not really taking a shot at all the Tonys, but my goodness. By the way, did you know Tony is also a little figurine that you can put on a box and play music?
No.
Yeah, it's a real hit among toddlers right now. You didn't know that?
I was unaware.
They cost a lot. My 3-year-old has way too many of them.
I don't have a toddler.
So I do trust I do trust those type of Tonys. I don't trust Tony Santion. The Reds shouldn't trust Tony Santion. Here's Terry Francona on Tony Santion.
Say location. I mean, it may be different at different times. Like against the right-hand hitter tonight that hit the home run, didn't locate his fastball where he wanted to, was middle. Happened the other day, same thing with the right-hand hitter. At times his breaking ball has kind of been in and out. I think his fastball is becoming more consistent. We're at a point where, God, we need some stability so much, and he's the guy that, so we're going to have to figure that out. I mean, do we pick our spots a little bit? I mean, tried to do that before, but with everybody going down, that's been a little bit more difficult.
With Ellie out, obviously a big loss, old adage of guys trying to do too much to make up for it. I don't know if that's true or not, but
I mean, I think their offense is harder for us than we want it to be sometimes. I mean, having Ellie's great, but I don't think it's because he's not in there.
Burns, a couple days after being sick, impressed with what you got today?
Yeah, and even like DJ said, even warming up, I think he looked a little sluggish. I thought even in the first inning, he gave up the home run. I think that took the sluggishness away. And he was pissed, and then he started really, but he was good.
It seemed like Burns gave up some hard contact, but nothing. I mean, there were a lot of outs other than the home run.
Yeah, and again, these couple kids coming off, he's being sick, and they're so routine oriented that you lose even that part of it. So, but he's okay.
Back to Tony. Have you been slotting him for the ninth inning over the last couple of weeks? That's mostly where he's pitched.
Have I been slotting him? It kind of depends on how we get there. Like if there's lefties, we've had Maul or Burke. If there's some righties or both, we've gone to Tony.
We talked before the game about the top decisions you guys have had to make. Are we getting there with Tony? That there could be some tough decisions?
I would never, ever do something like that to our players with the media, through the media. I would never do that. So disrespectful, I'd never do that.
Right decision by Terry Francona. There's the numbers for Tony Santillan. And pitching in the ninth, it's been rough. 3 runs yesterday. Yeah, you give up 11 hits and 26 batters faced, 10 earned runs, 5 innings, 4 homers, 4 walks. That ERA.
That's 9th inning only.
Jake Browning wishes he could put up as many points in a 4-quarter game at quarterback as Tony Santillan can do from an ERA standpoint. 18 points a game would have been nice for Jake Browning. That's rough.
No, it's been brutal in the ninth
Tonys
for Santillan, and it hasn't exactly been better outside of the ninth. In the month of May, he had an 11 ERA across the board every appearance. So it's been really bumpy for Santillan so far, and I think that there's some questions to be asked about whether you can trust him in any moment, much less high leverage at this point. When the numbers get as high as they are for Santillan, you're going to have to look other directions, but I don't know how many other directions there are to look. Paddock moving to the bullpen will give you some length options to hopefully push some of those other arms back in the bullpen, but from a right-handed pitcher perspective, I would assume they're going to go to Tony Santillan again at some point, and everyone's just going to hold their breath.
And that's the problem, is you heard Terry Francona talk about it. It's very much we're looking for some stability there. This has to be the stability. This has to be the Honda Civic. Tony Santillan has to be the guy that's going to get you from A to B, and you lean on him at times, and that's where the front office comes in.
Yeah.
That's where this conversation evolves is, did they do enough in the bullpen? Is it just injuries? Is the answer a mixture of both? And the answer is a mixture of both. There are injuries, and there are guys that struggled and have struggled that you weren't expecting to. But you have to have other options.
Right.
You have to be able to pivot. I don't think Terry Francona has many options here, realistic. Like, who would you have pointed to and said, all right, well, this is who they should have went with instead? And that's a really tough place to be. Like, hitting-wise, like even with Matt McClain's struggles, we were like, oh, well, Edwin Arroyo is in waiting. Or Ellie goes down, it's like, oh, well, McClain, maybe he figures it out. You can bring up Arroyo. You have Noel Vimar. Like, there were options long-term. I really don't know what it is other than getting healthy and moving some of these potential starters into the bullpen. But for the foreseeable future, I think Tony Santillan's going to be a part of it and needs to figure it out. We will see if he will. Andrew Abbott figured it out after April struggles, just looking at this rotation and looking at some guys that could. Will Brady Singer? I'm not sure. But the bullpen, the worst thing you can do is waste a quality Chase Burns outing when you're missing Hunter Green, when you still have questions in your rotation, which is supposed to be your strength, against the Royals.
Right.
Against a team at home that you should handle business against. I saw a YouTube chat. Jeff was like, what makes you so certain that the Reds are better than the Royals? Well, fine, but the expectations are much higher. Like, if you want to say they're not, well, then that just means the Reds are awful. And they were not expected to be awful. They were expected to be right there in the playoff mix, 31-30. It's been a rough 5 weeks or so for the Reds.
11-19 since May 1st, 3rd worst run differential in baseball. This team's hot start is the only thing keeping them off of bad team lists right now in the league. They have been bad since that April start when they started 20-11, and they were one of the most exciting teams in baseball. I remember I took a screenshot of the standings. It was them, the Braves, and the Yankees, the 3 top teams in baseball. It was a great place to be. Sal was playing out of his mind, was the Rookie of the Year favorite. The rotation looked all right. Ellie was in the MVP conversation, and it's really all just unraveled since across the board. And offensively, it's mostly been injury related, but with a bullpen been this untrustworthy, it's one of the most infuriating ways to watch baseball games, because regardless of what Chase Burns does or Lodolo does or Abbott does on the mound, unless you're up 3 or 4 runs, there's not a lot of confidence going into the 7th, 8th, or 9th inning, and that's just a gut-wrenching way to watch baseball games, and I have to assume the starting pitchers and a lot of the players on that team have to feel the same way when they come out.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. If you're Chase Burns, you had the illness, your start gets moved, you pivot.
You give up the early home run,
You don't have your best
A
stuff.
you power through it.
You power through it, you're in position, it's 2-2, and it's like, all right, go get the win, get out of Dodge, find a way to get the series victory, and it just feels much different, especially after what you were able to pull off on Tuesday, which was a miraculous comeback, a miraculous win. Will Benson beaming. There, I gave him credit. Not that I never did, but just in case there was anyone questioning his credit. Yeah, so that's right. And you waste Chase Burns.
Yeah.
You can't waste Chase Burns, especially if there's an innings limit, especially if there's a leash here. And we think there is. At some point, we're not going to see Chase Burns in the same capacity that we have for the first 2+ months of the season. Here's Chase on battling the illness, getting through it, and how he pitched on a night where the Reds blew it in the 9th.
I felt good. Just trying to get my bearings back. Felt a little weird, but sickness was behind me, so, but all in all, I feel great.
You went to your changeup more. Was that by plan, or did you kind of do that on the fly?
Yeah, kind of on the fly. You know, when Steve-O calls it and I throw a good one, he likes to go back to it, so been messing with some new grips. Been messing with Chris Paddocks, so he's been helping me out a lot with it, and so it was good tonight.
After the layoff, did you have to make an adjustment? Tito's used the word sluggish. Did you have to kind of just get an adjustment after the first inning?
Yeah. You know, after walking Bobby and then, you know, giving up the bomb, can't say anything. You just let the pass be the pass and kind of adjust from there.
Did you also say kind of like pissed you off and then you went to rip very bad?
Yeah, it definitely pissed me off. You know, you just can't walk someone like that and then miss your spot. You know, guy's gonna hit it. So yeah, I was kind of pissed off, and it kind of helped me throughout the game.
How do you feel about just the way you've been on this run of like last 9 or 10 starts, especially how you've been performing? I mean, are you exceeding your expectations, meeting your expectations? How do you feel about your overall school performance?
Yeah, I mean, every time I go out there, just trying to get 6, just trying to put the team in the best position to win. So as long as I do that, you know, I'm pretty happy.
Pain watching Chase Burns do what he did. 6 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs, 9 strikeouts. Did give up the home run. And look at those season stats. ERA just above 2, 16 earned runs, 81 strikeouts, 7-1 on the season, 21 walks. That's your guy.
That's my guy. That's my, contrary to popular belief, this is my guy.
I know, that's why I said it like that.
I know. I love Chase Burns, and what he's been able to do for the Reds rotation this year cannot be overlooked. The expectation is always that he's going to be one of the best pitchers in baseball. That's why you take him with the 2nd overall pick in the draft. But for it to happen so soon this year, it really can't be overlooked with the struggles the rest of this team has had. He's top 5 in wins for a team that has struggled to win games. He's top 5 in ERA. He's top 10 in Ks. He's top 10 in WHIP. He's just been unbelievable this year. And yesterday, to start the game, it looked like he didn't have his best stuff. He walks one of the early batters and then allows a home run right away to put the Reds in a 2-0 hole. But after that, after the first inning, 8 Ks, no runs, 3 hits, no walks. Just absolutely locks it down for the next 5 innings. And that's what we talk about when we talk about aces in Major League Baseball. And Chase Burns, sure, you know, James wants the sample size to get bigger, and that's absolutely fair. But at this point, he's certainly pitching.
They don't know
like
that.
one of the
We've
best
talked
pitchers
about that,
in
but they
baseball.
don't know that. We haven't even dove into that yet. Don't do that. Don't put my business out there. I'm going to call you Tony.
You do think the sample size needs to get bigger, though.
Tony Tissot is here, as is, well, Aaron and Coop and Rodney and Gabe and, I'm playing a dangerous game. Casey.
This is rough.
And
David.
Adam and David. Oh, I was going to miss Adam, though.
I know you were.
He would have been so mad. Oh, the bearded one. The point is we're just getting started here on First Word. He's Tony Tissot. I'm James Rapien. Up next, While You Slept, right here on First Word.
Hi, my name is Natalie Jones, and today we're at the Acres here in Evendale, Ohio. It actually has been around for 70 years and was just redone in 2022. And I'm going to get a golf lesson from the one and only Brett Birchikoff. Brett, get on in here. Did I pronounce your name correctly?
No.
All right, well, you know what? I'm even worse at golf. I did take a golf lesson once when I was 20 years old. I haven't really golfed since that day. All right, so now we're going to take a look around the Acres and see just exactly where we are. There's so much fun stuff to do here.
It's really cool.
So what's great about the Acres is it's a whole family event. They have 16 bays inside, they're open year round, and 22 bays outside. And then you want to look over here, we have family fun putt-putt. I'm even worse at putt-putt, okay? First timer, so what do I need to know?
Okay, so kind of three things, three pillars. I like to call them posture, just like your stance to the ball, kind of your address, the grip of the club, how you grip it, and then your alignment, your aim.
Posture,
grip, and alignment.
Alignment.
PGA.
PGA. That's what the PGA means?
No, feet kind of shoulder width apart, maybe a little wider.
All right.
You want to bend out the hips a little bit.
Okay.
And just a good athletic stance. Next is the grip. Easiest way for beginners to learn is
Hold
like
on,
that.
do you do this?
I do that. Feet a little wider. The shoes are going to be tough, but
No, these
there you
are stable. You ready?
Good swing. A little shorter swing.
Swing and a miss.
Got it out there.
Down the first baseline, baby. I really am trying really hard.
There you go.
Look at that!
Dead straight.
You're a great teacher.
Dead straight.
Heck yeah!
Wow.
Jesus. Now, so here's the, want me to, yeah, you know, pretty much an expert here now.
Another rebound rundown update, this time for the Cincinnati Bearcats under first-year head coach Jared Calhoun coming over to Clifton from Utah State. And Jared Calhoun having to put together an entirely new roster this year for Cincinnati. Not a single returning player from last year's Bearcat team. Tylen Riley, the headline piece for this roster, a transfer in from Tulsa, the point guard of this group. Miles Colvin, a transfer from Wake Forest, somebody who has national championship game experience from his time at Purdue in that game against UConn. Tyler Tejada out of the CAA from Towson. Riley Allensbach from George Mason. Travion Carson, Jaden Hastings. Eric Mahaffey, the local product from Moeller. Spent his first year at Akron, now finds his way down to UC, plus three players who already have experience in Jared Calhoun's system from Utah State. That is a fantastic balance. You have to have a group that has played for a head coach before. Jared Calhoun has that. Much more coverage of the Bearcats on the Rebound Rundown. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to First Word. I'm James Rapien alongside Tony Tissot, a.k.a. Jacob Tissot, a.k.a. Tony Trisket. I like that.
Doesn't the real name come first?
I like that. I like that. No, you're Tony for the rest of the show. Tony Santillan let the Reds down. We'll get to that and much, much more in While You Slept. But just a reminder, you can catch us every single weekday, 7 to 11, right here on The Crown. And that's live on RESN. That's obviously on YouTube Live. Shout out to everyone watching on YouTube. Live on X as well. And if you want to listen, take us with you on the go while you're commuting, while you're driving to work. Well, Mixlr is the way to do that. Just check us out on Mixlr as well. Search The Crown, and boom, we'll have you covered here on First Word. Let's dive into the Reds, because the Reds, well, they're getting a bad rap on today's show, and I apologize to everyone not named Tony Santillan, because you can't trust the Tony because Tony Santillan let the Reds down last night. 5-2, lost to the Royals. They fall to 31-30 on the season. And Santillan giving up the 3 runs in the ninth, the big reason why.
Yeah, not great, but I wish it was more of a surprise. I think that's the thing at
not
this
great
point
is a heck of a way to do it. I've nicknamed you Tony Tissot, so that's why you say not great.
Yeah, I mean, I wish it was more of a shock. I think when Tony Santillan came out, it was, I hope he can do something he hasn't done for the last month, and that's get the Reds over the hump and get a save here tonight or last night, and that just obviously wasn't the case. He didn't have the stuff, and the problem with that is he had the same stuff he's had for the last month. An 11 ERA in May, an 18 ERA so far this year, pitching in the 9th inning. And quite frankly, the Reds don't have many other options to close baseball games at this point. You're going to throw out Zach McCambley in his major league debut. You had Mole, who pitched yesterday. It's an incredibly tough position for this Reds bullpen right now, and it's even more frustrating when you get the start you did from Chase Burns. 9 Ks through 6 innings, only 4 hits, 2 earned runs, and really just a great start from the pitcher who has been at the front of the Reds rotation all year. So far this year, offense doesn't do enough. Bullpen lets it slip through their fingers, and the Reds have another loss.
Another loss. I, again, apologize in advance for all the Tony slander, but it is rough for Tony Santillan. Look at that graphic there.
Yeah.
Look at that WAR.
Worst among relievers in baseball.
I'm not shocked by that. Like, the minus 1.1, it's June 4th.
You don't pitch enough to accrue a full negative game. You're a reliever. How is that possible? Over a game.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be possible. It's absolutely insane how far Tony Santillan has fallen from what he once was in this bullpen from a confidence perspective, and also just the trajectory everyone in this fan base thought he was on. He was a name that was consistently thrown out for closing roles. Much less high leverage, that was just a given, but it's certainly not where he is right now, and I wish the Reds had other options and other places to go, but they quite frankly just don't.
Yeah, and that's the tough part, is the numbers are bad, but it sounds like Tony Santillan going to continue to pitch for the Reds. We will see what happens there as far as that goes. What we do know is that Noelvi Marte is back.
Yes.
Not a bigger Noelvi Marte fan on the planet, including his family, other than this guy. And I'll give you your real name back. Jacob Tissot loves Noelvi Marte. His reaction, we posted it on our socials at First Word Cincy. My man flexed when I told him during our show prep meeting for today, when yesterday the news broke that Marte was a Red.
Yeah, very, very fired up. This is a guy that I've kind of been banging the table to get back up here since he got sent down. I know he struggled so far this year, but an incredibly small sample size, less than 30 at-bats to start this year, and he was great down the stretch in right field last year. So I think he certainly makes a lot of sense to be on this Reds lineup and on this Reds roster, and it makes a lot more sense when you lose Elly De La Cruz. You got to maximize the talent and potential in the lineup, and there's not a lot of players in this Reds organization with more talent than Noelvi Marte.
Yep, no doubt about it, and we'll see if he can make an impact for the Cincinnati Reds. Thierry Francona talked about that. This video, courtesy of my man Mike Petraglia, a.k.a. Trags on X, on Thierry Francona. This is before the loss to the Royals yesterday, but the promotion of Marte and sending TJ Friedel down.
That he'll get a chance to play every day and try to kind of rediscover being Friedel. You know, he's not that far removed from being our leadoff hitter and our everyday center fielder, and he's kind of fallen on some tough times. And sitting the bench, I don't know, you know, I mean, you're right, it was very difficult. Like, we labored over it.
Yeah.
The conversation with him is, he's an unbelievable teammate. He's an unbelievable kid. Just think this gives him the best chance to find himself.
You said some of the conversations you've had with him, even in the last few weeks, how well he responded and reacted. Did you get that same sense here?
Last night when we won, he was first one out of the dugout.
Right.
That's consistent. Yeah, he's good. He understood. He listened. He talked. Very thoughtful, and you know, nothing that we feel has changed about him.
Yeah.
Just want to give him a chance to try to kind of rediscover, you know, what he can do.
As far as Marte goes, everyone can look and see the numbers, but what do you feel like he's gained from his work there as he comes back this time?
You know, he's been sent back a couple times, and both times he's responded by playing really well. And that's what you'd love to see. He'll play some right field. You're probably going to see him in center field too. And again, I don't know if I can make out the lineup ahead of time, but he's going to play. He'll play, and we'll see where it fits.
As far as what's made him mostly more different than maybe when he left here, did PK or anybody say, hey, he's really stepped up in this area?
He obviously swung the bat very well.
Right.
It's so hard now to almost quantify, because some guys come up and swing it, Blade, and keep swinging it.
Right.
Some guys come up and it's like you don't see. So I think everybody's different. I think the hardest thing for us to gauge is guys that chase, you pay for it way more here. There's better finish on breaking balls. And so that's going to be a key with Marte too.
That video courtesy of Mike Petraglia. And look, the Reds bullpen, I just pulled it up, the graphic from from 2 nights ago. 4 innings, no hits, no runs, and it was Antone, Mole, Maxwell, Burke. And they handled business. You get the extra innings win. And 24 hours ago, we're like, man, that could be a season saver. That could help them, propel them. Suddenly you could win the series against the Royals. When you have the next night, Santillan do this, it goes out the window very fast. And we're questioning the bullpen, and we're questioning Tony, and all of those things. You're hoping that Noelvi Marte can be the bright spot, because there's been a lot of times where TJ Friedel's been where Tony Santillan's been.
Absolutely.
This offseason, or this season, excuse me. And the Reds said, you know what? Marte's figured it out. We're going to bring him back up. We'll see if he does. But that's it. These are the ebbs and flows of the season. Let's tie it together. Marte was bad at the beginning of the year. They sent him down. Jacob would update me every single day on his stats in AAA. And so now, all right, Marte, show us. It's going to be a big weekend for him.
Absolutely.
And it's huge for this Reds team if he can give them something. Because TJ Friedel didn't. You obviously hope that Tony Santillan figured it out. Friedel clearly wasn't figuring it out, had a lot of opportunities. So now you go back to Marte and hope he found something in AAA that he can use in the big leagues.
Absolutely. That would be the hope, and that's always really the thought process in sending a lot of these exciting young guys down to AAA when they're struggling, is just to guarantee every day at bats, guarantee the time that they'll need to work through some of those struggles. And Francona said it right there. Marte was swinging the bat really, really well in AAA, led the whole league in batting average and OPS during his time with the bats. But the biggest thing that Marte got sent down for was not swinging the bat. His chase rate was absurd up here in the majors, getting up towards 30%, and he didn't have a great feel for the zone, swinging at pitches that were clear in the other's batter box and things along those lines that just made him close to an unplayable player at times, letting the pitchers take the easy way out in terms of those at-bats. But last night was about as good as I could have seen from Marte in a one-at-bat pinch hit performance. Yeah. He took 4 pitches, 2 of them were close enough to be ABS challenged, and he walked. That's a huge step for a guy that does not take a lot of pitches that are borderline. And the first 2 in an at-bat in a close game where you have to get on base to give the Reds a chance, he sat there with the bat on his shoulder and took some pitches. So hopefully he matured a little bit in AAA, got a better feel for the zone, and can hit the ground running up here in the majors, because he is incredibly talented, a former top 30 prospect, the main return with Edwin Arroyo in the trade for Luis Castillo years ago. So he needs to be a major part of this team, and if the Reds are going to get anywhere in terms of October baseball or playoff baseball, Noelvi Marte is going to have to be playing well. And we saw that at the end of last year when he got hot and made a play, defensively and offensively at the end of the year to get the Reds over the hump. He's going to be a key piece of this if the Reds are in any kind of contention at the end of this year. So you get him back up, get him back in a groove, and hopefully you can take off a little bit.
Yeah, if he gets in a groove like J.J. Bleday, then the Reds might just be okay, all right? J.J. Bleday, Player of the Month for May. Congrats to him. I thought this was pretty cool. I thought of you right away. What'd you say?
April AAA Player of the Month.
No doubt.
And then May, National League Player of the Month. Just not taking a break at all. He's been incredible.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it, the 8 home runs and 25 RBI. When I saw the May stats, I was like, oh, well, yeah. But I didn't realize it. Like, I knew he was playing well. Yeah. But when you see those numbers of the 301, first in NL in slugging, first in NL in OPS, the RBI, like, okay, let's go. Let's do it. So J.J. Bleday, keep it rolling. They need that to happen. They also need some fun people to throw out the first pitch.
Yeah.
Landon Robinson did this yesterday. It's a good segue into the Bengals. The Bengals took Landon Robinson in the 7th round of the draft in April, and former Navy star graduated from the academy and gets on the mound and throws out this first pitch. Look at this. Bam.
That's awesome.
Pretty good pitch.
Yeah.
Just throwing it out there.
No,
Pretty good
certainly
pitch.
not bad. Really, the crux of first pitches is just don't be bad enough to be spread all around
That's it.
social media, and he certainly wasn't.
That would be my goal.
Yeah.
My goal would be, hey, get it somewhere near the plate without hitting the ground.
Boom.
Make sure the catcher can catch it, and that's it. You give the catcher an opportunity. It's very quarterback heel.
Yeah.
Is give the catcher an opportunity to make a play. That's it. And if
Landon
you do
Robinson was probably the most talked about day 3 prospect leading up to the draft
Of
from
all
Bengals
time?
fans. Of all time, in terms of how excited Bengals fans were for the prospect of having him in stripes this year, and now to see him already throwing out a first pitch at the Red Stadium has to be cool for a guy that grew up a Bengals fan. I have to assume he grew up a Reds fan as well. So really cool to see him have that moment.
Yeah, no doubt about it. By the way, speaking of the Bengals, it's Bears. It's a joint practice ahead of their Week 2 matchup in the preseason. And one, I love this. Two, I love that it's here. And you love this because maybe you'll get to see your guy Caleb Williams a little bit. But yeah, I love that the Bengals having a joint practice. And look, I got to be honest. The ones on the road, and Jay Morrison's tweet as you're looking at there, the 2024 joint practice in Chicago, they went up there and it just got rained on.
Yeah.
And it was a pain. Joe struggled. It was kind of annoying, and it didn't set the tone for the season, but it was good foreshadowing. Hopefully this is a different result here, but it will be fun. Those practices are far more competitive than preseason games.
Of course.
Because there's 50 reps instead of 7, so it's going to be really valuable. I wouldn't be shocked if this means we don't see Joe in the preseason.
Wow. Okay.
Because you get 50 reps against first team, and that's always maybe you see him like one game, but last year, you know how they were playing him multiple games, and it was silly narrative anyway, because then they went to Cleveland and stunk on offense after he lit it up in the preseason. So does it really matter? I've always been anti-preseason for Joe Burrow and some of these stars, but yeah, for me, knowing this, hey, get all those reps in during the joint practice. But I love to see it. Zach Taylor and Ben Johnson have a great relationship, so it's cool that they're going to have another joint practice and that it's going to be here in town, 2 potential playoff teams.
Always pro joint practices. I think the clips that come out afterwards, the competition, the trash talk, all of it's good for the league. Hope we don't get any swinging helmets this year. Don't need any injuries to the Bengals in the trenches. No Aaron Donald.
Aaron Donald
back to the league yet.
Is he back?
But I hope not.
Is he joining the Bears?
I hope not.
Oh my God.
That'd be bad news.
Stay in the NFC.
That's the joint practice memory that's always in the front of my mind.
Wild. I was right there. I have a photo of him
Oh yeah. It's like Thor with his hammer. It's an insane picture.
You make the Thor reference. I saw him walking out to practice that day, and I thought he was Thanos.
Yeah.
And then he goes out and, he does his best Thor impression. One more, because Caleb Williams will be here for the joint practice. He's also on the cover of Madden 27. Jacob is a big Caleb Williams guy, so not shocked that you were excited about this. But, I was surprised they went with Caleb Williams. They're getting ahead. They're trying to get ahead of it. I would have been stunned 3 months ago if you said Caleb Williams was the cover of Madden. I don't even think I would have bet Jahmyr Gibbs is on the cover of Madden before Caleb Williams. I'm just naming an NFC North star that isn't even a quarterback.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think a lot of people were surprised by it. I think the way he ended the year certainly kind of lent himself to, a lot of the press and stuff he's gotten throughout this offseason. And Caleb Williams is kind of a video game player anyway, highlight based, not really the best if you watch all the plays through. So makes sense to throw him on the cover. I saw people comparing it to Jazz Chisholm on the cover of MLB The Show 23, just a weird pick for the cover. One of the guys that's loved by a lot of fans, but maybe not in that top echelon of players. But I think what they did with the cover was really cool, doing the Jordan jump man with the skyline underneath. I thought it was a good cover, but I don't know. Madden curse, are you a believer or not?
I would be uneasy if Joe Burrow or Jamar Chase were on the cover. So, believer is probably too strong. Enough to say, is it worth it? Yeah, Joe, just sign with another beverage company or something and get your money that way, But it is, I think it's an awesome cover. You pay how much to Michael Jordan? He's not going to be Michael Jordan. No. That's fine. I think Caleb Williams is talented in the Madden cover. Do it. You know what I need? I need Madden, the game itself, to be good.
That would be nice.
It would be good. It would be nice if it was much better than it's been in really the past like 15 years, where it feels like it hasn't upgraded a ton.
Man, the first Madden 25 was the last good Madden, I think.
The first Madden 25.
What was that, 2015?
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. The
25-year anniversary. Madden 25 stunk, so I didn't want to just straight up say Madden 25.
Gotcha. Totally get it. All right. Well, that's enough video game talk for now. We should have a Madden tournament. See?
Yes.
That would be fun. You know what else is fun? Talking Reds. Are they going to keep their head above water? Brian Giesenthal will join us coming up at 8:30, and we'll continue the Reds conversation next, right here on First Word.
Cincinnati, home to more than a dozen Fortune 500 companies. A city where you know someone who knows someone, and you're in business. Every weekday at noon, The Working Lunch brings you headlines from local businesses, along with exclusive interviews with owners and local leaders. East Side, West Side, northern suburbs, downtown over the Rhine, and northern Kentucky. Real conversations, real Cincinnati. The Working Lunch with Jack Crumley, weekdays at noon, only on The Crown.
It's time for another Tissots Take here on First Word, and Sal Stewart. What a joy it's been to watch him for the Cincinnati Reds in his first full season with the big league club. Such a young player playing a new position at first base. Stewart played 203 games at third base through the Reds minor league system, just 2 at first, and he has been a star over there so far this year. After his historic April, he's been at the front of the NL Rookie of the Year race, battling against other young stars in the National League Central. Moises Ballesteros with the Cubs, Connor Griffin with the Pirates, J.J. Weatherholt with the Cardinals, some of the most exciting young players in all of baseball playing in the National League Central, and Sal Stewart right there at the top. First base, he's been great, but also a serviceable second baseman and third baseman, and hitting phenomenally from the plate. A real threat anywhere he is on the diamond, and someone no pitcher wants to face in the box. Very lucky to have someone this professional at such a young age. You're watching First Word, part of the Crown Network, from 7 to 11 every weekday morning.
Hello, my name is Natalie Jones, and welcome to the Nat Jones Show. After retiring from my 10-year radio career here in Cincinnati, I caught the bug, and I'm happy to bring it here to the Crown. I love captivating people who have captivating stories to tell. And the thing about it is, everybody has a story to tell. All you got to do is empower them to do so. That is exactly what I'm doing here. Because life is better when we all stay curious and we all stay connected.
I'm James Rapien, and this is your First Word Bengals Minute. Joe Burrow is undoubtedly one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. We know that. He knows that. But can he be the best? Well, earlier this offseason, he said he wanted to throw for 48 touchdowns, that it was doable. If he hits that mark, it would give him 205 in his career, which would be #1 all-time, passing Andy Dalton in Bengals history. And that mark is one thing, but becoming the best on the planet is another. And Joe Burrow, for my money, has the chance, has the potential, has the ability to be the best quarterback on the planet, and it's up to him to show it this year. Is 48 touchdowns doable? Absolutely. How about the NFL all-time single-season record at 55 that Peyton Manning set way back in 2013? Joey B, let's see you get that done. For more on the Bengals, make sure you check out First Word every single weekday, 7 to 11, right here on The Crown.
First Word rolls on here on The Crown with you every single weekday, 7 to 11. Right here. Make sure you check us out on YouTube Live where, well, the chat is popping. You can join the conversation. Plenty of people diving into the Reds conversation. This is where you can find us on The Rock every single weekday, 7 to 11. Obviously live on YouTube, live, and you can listen live on Mixler. And then, of course, wherever you get your podcast. And if you go there, if you go to Spotify, Apple, iHeart, make sure you leave a 5-star review so more people find us and find Cincinnati's only morning sports show. That's right. It's our first week here on First Word. We couldn't be more excited to be with you. I'm James Rapien. He's Jacob Tissot. And the Reds conversation continues. Brian Giesenslaw is going to join us at 8:30, and we're going to dive into a bunch of Reds stuff. We're loaded today. We got Jeremy Fowler live at 9. We have in studio, like I said, Giesenslaw at 8:30. At 10, Joe Daneman.
What a day.
And so Giesenslaw Reds, Fowler Bengals. At 10, Joe Daneman, everything. And so we are loaded. We are stacked. We are packed, and we are here for you. And is Nick Kroll going to be here for you? I think that's a big, big question. He talked with reporters, talked with Mark Sheldon of MLB.com, and made some interesting comments recently about the trade deadline, about what they could or couldn't do, and about the injuries. And I think that's what's interesting here is the vibes we're getting of they're hanging on by a thread. And yesterday we came into the studio and said, man, season-changing win potentially, ... The reason that narrative is there and we feel it is because I feel like that's a narrative that's internal as well. Nick Kroll making it clear that they're trying to keep their head above water. And this is concerning, and I'll pull up the entire quote now, but if we can keep our heads above water, we have a shot to hang in there. You're going to have to take some more time before we can figure out exactly who we are. That is concerning.
Yeah.
And here's why it's concerning. Not that it's not true, but like there's doubt there. It's like, we don't know who we are yet. We'll see.
Right.
And fine, but if that's the reality of the situation, they might not add. And are the Reds going to be a playoff team if they don't add? I think a lot of things have to go their way if that's going to happen.
I mean, I would say no. I would go completely on the side of no here. I think the bullpen's in a position right now where you can't compete with actual competitive teams if you're going to keep running out these guys in the bullpen. The fact that Tony Santillan has an 18 ERA in the 9th inning, and we're sitting here this morning, saying who else would they have thrown? Yeah. He has an 18 ERA. You should have 5 other options to throw right there, and the Reds don't necessarily have that right now. It's an incredibly uphill battle for this bullpen, and the problem is there's not other options in the minors either. When the bats were struggling at different times this year, there were some exciting pieces in the minor leagues that you could have, talked about calling up at some point in the near future and changing things around. That's not the case with the bullpen. I think the only hope would be that the rotation gets healthy and stays healthy. Once Hunter Green can come back and you can move some of those guys back there. Paddock in the bullpen now with Lauder expected to start this weekend. Hopefully he can be a nice long relief option, take some pressure off the back end of this bullpen. But this Reds team is sadly doing exactly what Nick Kroll said. He's not wrong at all. You need to stay above water until you can get healthy. If the Reds don't add this year, that's certainly not what we want as Reds fans in the city of Cincinnati, but Hunter Green, Ellie De La Cruz potentially coming back around the trade deadline. You'll have an infusion of talent in the middle of this summer. Maybe that can spur this team to be back in a competitive race towards the end of this year, but I think the timing of all these injuries leading up to the trade deadline when the Reds are basically it's going to be impossible for them to be playing their best baseball. It's going to be really hard for this front office to justify adding a lot to this team.
That's what's tough. Is if the Reds were going to win a World Series, that probably means that they're so good that they add at the deadline.
Yes.
Like saying that at the beginning of the season, I'd be like, oh, well, they're going to make a trade that's going to matter, that's going to make them that much better. If they're not even in position to consider that move, that just stinks. Right. And what they'll do is they'll blame injuries.
Yeah.
And fair, I think the rotation part of it matters. Right, I think the rotation element of this and losing Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo, not many teams can overcome that. But they were the one team or one of the teams that could because their strength was what? Starting pitching. But we knew they were going to stink at hitting. We knew it was going to be inconsistent unless Matt McClain was awesome and Sal Stewart was awesome and Noelvi Marte was awesome. Like, unless all these young guys were just awesome right away, did you feel great about their lineup coming into the year? Like, I didn't. And there were even questions about Ellie, who's now on the injured list. and was far more consistent than he had been in years past, and I thought was well on his way, and still could be, to having his best season. But that's it, is you mix all of it together, and your one strength isn't a strength because of injuries. You had questions in the lineup. You had questions in the bullpen. I think they were more comfortable than we might have been bullpen-wise, but clearly that plan hasn't worked. And so you need to salvage this fast. And what I would say is, from a bullpen standpoint, if it is that big of a dire need where it's just Tony Santiano, that's it, well, maybe this is the Joe Flacco territory, where you're like, all right, we need someone. The Bengals knew when they made that Flacco trade that things were hanging on by a thread. But they needed something to jumpstart them. And they did that, and they didn't give up a ton, and it did jumpstart them. Now, I think people would look at it 1,000-foot view, 10,000-foot view, and say, well, it didn't work anyway. They only won 6 games. Sure. But it brought some hope, and it gave them a chance. Right now, if you're the Reds, do you go into it if it's 2-2, 3-2 on Friday night? You going to feel like you have a great shot? The bullpen's going to hold it down?
No.
What about Saturday?
No.
What
never.
about Sunday?
Yeah.
And so that's a heck of a piece. Like if it's rotation, you trust it, and it's starting to come together. Lineup has been better than you thought, and maybe one of these other guys step up. Well, then try to fix the bullpen and find a piece that can help find your Joe Flacco.
Cannot wait to the trade deadline to do that, if that's the case.
No,
This
it's
needs
like
to be done today.
Like this week.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a thing that should have been talked about weeks ago when we saw this bullpen trending this direction. If the goal is to see what this Reds team actually is, then you have to improve the bullpen, because you're not giving the starting rotation a chance to do the things that they're able to do. You're not giving the offense a chance to win some games when they're not playing their A-plus level of baseball, and that's an incredibly frustrating brand to watch. And I think what you said about the strength and being able to overcome some of those injuries that maybe other teams couldn't is absolutely true. And when Hunter Green and Lodolo go down, you feel decent about that. If it's not a super long-term thing for both of them, obviously 2 different timelines, Lodolo's blister and Green's elbow surgery, but you felt like you could get through that potentially. But when you lose Williamson and you lose Lauder, and then the bullpen, you lose Pagan and you lose Pierce Johnson and you lose Graham Ashcraft, no team can overcome losing that many pieces in their bullpen and in their rotation. There's just not enough in it, except for maybe the Dodgers, who have a major league rotation in their AAA in their AAA lineup right now. But the Reds are never going to be able to overcome this number of injuries, even if they have the best offseason of all time. They spent a lot of money on this bullpen, and the pieces just haven't gelled together. And part of that is because you're having to ask them to pitch in situations that they're not supposed to be pitching in, because your closer and your setup men have gotten hurt. So the Reds need to find a way to keep their head above water while they wait to get healthy. And Nick Krall, it's never what you want to see from the GM, but it's certainly the truth right now.
Yeah, another one that he said, as of right now, we haven't found anybody we can get. We love to figure out a stabilized bullpen. Nick Krall to Mark Sheldon of MLB.com. It's just tough spot to be in. Tough spot to be in when you're in a really tough division, everybody's winning, and you have a clear weakness that needs to be addressed. Coming up at 8, the Bengals address their clear weakness in the defensive front. Do they have a top 10 defensive line? We'll dive into that. But next, it's time for our poll question of the day right here on First Word.
The Crown has you covered. Start your day with the First Word, Cincinnati's only morning sports show. Power through midday with the Working Lunch, Cincinnati business talk that keeps you in the know. Nat tries that for lifestyle around the city, and the Rebound Rundown covers every corner of the college basketball scene in the tri-state and beyond. This is The Crown, built for Cincinnati. First Word for your morning sports, the Working Lunch for business that hits home. Nat tries that for lifestyle around the city, and Rebound Rundown for college hoops. This city deserves its crown. Watch, listen, subscribe. Hi, my name is Natalie Jones, just your typical 40-year-old Cincinnati girl. Although, no, I'm not married or divorced. I don't have any kids, and I don't live in the neighborhood I grew up in, which is the West Side, by the way. But what I do have is a lot of freaking time, and I've been using it well. So come along with me on this grand adventure, because I've been trying all the new around town that you need to know about. This is Nat Tries That.
Paul Fritchner back here for another Rebound Rundown local update, this time for the Xavier Musketeers under second-year head coach Richard Pitino, turning over some of the roster, but not quite as much as last year in his first season when he basically had to put together an entirely new team. He brings back some faces from this past year's team. Jovan Milicevic, the only one who played. Gabe Pizzato, expected to be a key player on this upcoming season's team. He had a torn meniscus. Kaysen Westphal redshirted as well. Jovan Milicevic, a really crucial star player for Xavier, is back. And then they add a couple of SEC starters in Mike Nwoko, the starting center from LSU, Ruben Dominguez, a sharpshooter from Texas A&M, plus Chance Westry, a point guard from UAB, True Washington, who played for Richard Pitino at New Mexico, then went to Miami, Florida. He is back playing for Richard Pitino, a really talented two-way player. A lot of pieces to be excited about on this Xavier team, and you can stay tuned for all of that and more right here on the Rebound Rundown.
My name is Jack Crumley. I've been covering news in Cincinnati on the radio for the last 20 years. I grew up in Northeast Ohio, but Cincinnati has always felt like home since day one. I've seen so many things accomplished here, and now, with the Working Lunch, I get to write, read, and talk about them every day. Hard-working people with a drive and a dream. Innovative ideas that help shape this city. Cincinnati is a great city, and I'm excited to tell you about it every day.
First Word rolls on here on The Crown. I'm James Rapien. He's Jacob Tissot with you until 11 o'clock. By the way, Brian Giesenslaw live in studio at 8:30. We'll talk about the Reds. How we fix the Reds. Maybe Brian joins that bullpen.
I hope he has some answers. I need answers.
I just fixed it.
Yeah.
Trade Tony for a Brian.
That'd be good. That'd be good. I'm in.
I don't know what relievers are Brian.
I
but
don't either, but they can't be. I can't have an 18 ERA in the ninth inning.
Can't have an 18 ERA. That's a good way to dive in, certainly. And we will hear from Brian Giesenslaw at 8:30, like I said. At 9, Jeremy Fowler live here on the show. And then at 10, Joe Daneman in studio. So 2 in-studio guests, and then Jeremy Fowler going to pipe in and give us the latest on the Bengals. We'll dive into the Bengals coming up in just a few minutes. But let's get to the poll question of the day. It's a really simple one, and it ties to Nick Kroll, and it ties to these Cincinnati Reds ahead of the trade deadline. Now they're 31-30 on the season. Pretty simple. Nick Kroll on the Reds. If we can keep our heads above water, we have a shot to hang in there. You're going to have to take some time before we can figure out exactly who we are. Will the Reds stay afloat and be buyers at the trade deadline? 64.5% of you say no, they'll stand pat. 23% of you say no, they'll be sellers. And 12% say yes, they will buy.
I do not think the Reds are going to get either way to make a solid decision. They're not going to be good enough to say that they're confidently buying. There's not going to be bad enough to sell off any significant pieces. Not to mention, I'm not sure how many significant pieces there are to be willing to sell at this point. So yeah. I voted for the middle, land with the 64.5% of people, and think that's exactly fair. Sure, the optimism of the 12 that say they'll buy, I love it. It's early in a 162-game season. Maybe they can turn it around and get to a point where the front office does add to this roster. roster. I hope they're not sellers, because I think you'd legitimately have to bottom out in order to sell, because the pieces that carry real value on this team are young players that they have for multiple years still. So I don't think you're trading any of them just because this season doesn't go according to plan. It's been frustrating so far, but I don't think any deals are going to make sense unless it's a Reese Hines for Zach McCandley type of thing.
Bullpen, you just said it. They need to find a bullpen arm or 2 or 7.
Yeah, it'd be
find
nice.
a Brian, find a good Tony.
What are you trading for that?
I don't know. Is Matt McClain available?
No.
He's not available.
Not for a bullpen arm.
I'm just wondering.
No.
No?
It'd have to be a really good bullpen arm.
You really believe in him, Steve?
You have 4 more years of cheap control.
I'm not cheap. I just want to win, man.
If he signed that extension, then we can trade him.
Well, yeah, but then you wouldn't be. Then he would be Brian Hayes. Don't Brian Hayes me. Don't do that. We're not going to do that.
They should see if they can get a division rival to take that contract for free.
Yeah, I know, and give up something.
Top 100 prospect.
There's no way that could happen in the past year.
No, surely not. Do we even want Nick Kroll to be buyers? He traded a top 25 prospect for Gavin Lux.
Relax. I want them to be buyers. They need to win games. We will dive into plenty of Reds with Brian Giesenstahl coming up at 8:30. But up next, do the Bengals have a top 10 defensive front? We'll get into that on First Word.
I'm here with Heather Britt. She is the founder and creator of the Dance Mix Foundation. This is the first inaugural Kids Dance Day. Tell us what you've done.
So we've been in 9 schools over Greater Cincinnati that we have been teaching a dance to over the last 3 weeks. They've practiced and now they're coming together to perform and then see other arts experience. Cincinnati Ballet, Art Museum, Playhouse in the Park. So they're gonna have a great day.
Shoot. Let's go.
You stepped inside with a vibe I ain't never seen. Yes, you did.
This is so cool! This is so much fun!
It would break my heart, break my heart, break my heart if I find out you ain't You better show me now, show me now, show me now. 'Cause when I take it to the floor, you gotta get down. You know what to do. Hey, DJ.
Oh, you guys are doing a great job. Whoa. Why did you want to start this and do this?
Our mission is health, happiness, connection, but really about arts access as well and inclusion.
Nice job. Nice job. Hey. Hey, your shoelaces are untied. Your shoelaces are untied. You don't know how to tie it? Can I do it? All right, cool. All right, I'll teach you. What's your name? Tayden. Tayden, have you been having fun today? Yeah. Now he's good to go. That was making me so nervous. 1, 2, 3, dance miss! Great job today. Great job today.
This city has always had something to prove. While the rest of the country talked about us, we built our own voice. Blue collar, underdogs, built differently, overlooked, talked about like we were supposed to stay quiet. But that was never who we were, because this city doesn't wait for permission. And neither do we. And now, for the first time, Cincinnati has a network built in its image, because the biggest stories in this city deserve more than highlights. This isn't cable television. This isn't national media. This is ours. This is the Crown.
Happy Thursday and welcome into First Word. I'm James Rapien alongside Jacob Tissot. We are your morning sports show, Cincinnati, every single weekday, 7 to 11.
Always open.
Right here on the Crown. There we go. The always open was so delayed.
I know. Sometimes I forget the always open and want to go straight to the right here on the Crown.
No, always open right here on the Crown. You can catch us live
That's why
on
you're the pro.
YouTube, and we have a Snoop cam. We have a little camera over there in our YouTube live viewers. Well, they got a nice little message there. So if you haven't subscribed to First Word on YouTube, make sure you do that. Make sure you check us out live every weekday on The Rock. And that's on Spectrum, that's on Alta Fiber. You can catch it digitally as well. There you go. Live on Mixler, take us with you on the go. And obviously, Spotify, Apple, iHeart, all of The Crown can be listened to there. And obviously, The Working Lunch with Jack Crumley, noon to 1, every day live here on RESN. Let's dive into this, Jacob, because to me, we've spent so much time talking about this Bengals defensive front. We have.
Yes.
And by we, I mean anyone that covers the Bengals fans, certainly this show, and it's only 4 days in. We had Ted Karras in studio, by the way. Speaking of YouTube, that full thing is up on our YouTube. We had him in studio, and he's the starting center. He's going to be blocking for Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and we spent the first 10 minutes talking about the defense and how hard it is to block Dexter Lawrence and how he feels about the defense. And it was defense, 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 defense. And so we've covered it.
Yeah.
But national media covering it as well. Jeremy Fowler's going to join us in an hour to talk about the Bengals defensive front. But Ben Solak put this out of ESPN. And one of the 10 biggest position upgrades in the NFL. And the Bengals defensive front made that list. I was not surprised to see that. I was not, because of where they were.
Yeah.
Where B.J. Hill was awesome last year, no one knew it because, man, he was just buried. Like, they did not get the production they needed. Myles Murphy flashed a bit at the end of the year, but they just did not have consistency. It's a big reason why their defense struggled. And when you go out and you get Dexter Lawrence and Jonathan Allen, and you go get Boye Mafe, and Shamar Stewart now is going into year 2, it's easy to see the vision, and then they double down at defensive end, edge, pass rush, whatever you want to say, and take Cassius Howe in the second round. Like, there's all these things that are going their way pass rush wise. So were you surprised to see them on this list before we get to where they stack up or with the rest of the league?
I was not at all. I expect them to be on every single list about team improvement, position group improvements this offseason. I think part of that is a commentary on how bad the defensive line has been over the last few years. And certainly, I'm thrilled with the moves the Bengals have made, and I think they've certainly switched it into a strength of this team. It's a position group that I'm incredibly confident in going into this season, which hasn't been the case for the last 3-4 years or so. And the Bengals took some big-time swings to get there. And I really feel good about this group. I mean, we're debating where they rank in the league this year, and last year it was, are they potentially the worst position group at defensive line in the league? So it's nice to see that kind of swing, and everyone else talking about the steps the Bengals have made this year.
For sure. That big step forward, well-deserved. Now it's time to get to the meat of this. Buy or sell that they are a top 10 defensive line in the NFL.
I'm going to buy it. I'm going to buy it, and that's a huge swing. I understand that's a huge swing from where they were last year, but I think the additions that they made bring up just the talent level to where it needs to be at that point. But the thing that pushes them over the edge for me is the depth in this room. And I know we need to see all these players come together and actually play football in the uniforms, and it looks great on paper, and we haven't seen them play together yet. But in terms of the depth of this defensive line room, I think it's absolutely incredible, and you're taking a lot off the plate of a lot of these young guys that have been asked to do so much early in their careers, so hopefully they can get more comfortable and take those steps. Dexter Lawrence, obviously the biggest change from the Bengals defensive line. He's one of the best interior defensive linemen, if not the best, in all of football, and now he's in the middle of this Bengals defense. It sized TJ Slaton, nose guard from last year, down to the backup role, and I think that's some great depth for him there. So BJ Hill's going to be great, and then the depth at edge, being able to rotate all these young guys in, I think is going to be phenomenal. So I'm absolutely buying that they're a top 10 defensive line this year.
If they're a top 10 defensive line, they'll win the division.
Yep.
And it doesn't mean that I don't think that they can be a top 10 defensive line, but I'm going to sell this, and here's why I'm going to sell it. You mentioned edge. Who are you banking on at edge? Who do you believe in? No matter what, this guy is going to give you production and be awesome.
Mafe.
Do you?
I think so.
You think.
And I guess the think might remove him from answering that question.
Correct. Like,
yeah.
I think Maffei's going to be good too. And I think Miles Murphy's going to be consistent
then
in the
that's
3-down player. And I think Shamar Stewart's a freak because I've seen it. Will he be consistent? I don't know. They all have question marks.
For sure.
And like even Dexter, I think he's going to be awesome. And I think he had kind of been like, man, the Giants stink. And it's just, but I do need to still see it. And that's what's tough about this is like on paper, can I see the scenario where Dexter Lawrence is awesome and he unlocks the fountain of youth for Jonathan Allen, who was still a pretty good pass rusher on the interior last year, and that keeps B.J. Hill fresh, and he is awesome. And then you have T.J. Slayton behind Dexter, and you feel good about that from a depth perspective, like you mentioned. And then suddenly, Shamar Stewart gets it alongside Boye Mafe and Miles Murphy. I can see the vision. I think for the most part, that will happen. There'll be a really good defensive front. I do think it's going to be a strength. But being a strength, and maybe the second best strength that we mentioned, if you go Joe and the skill players, second one being the defensive front. Like, I think that's the ceiling.
It's one of the two lines.
But they got to show it.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. Like, I love the plan. I think they made sense. I think it made sense. I love all the moves. But until they go out there and Dexter's a Pro Bowler or an All-Pro, then they don't have, like if he's not a Pro Bowler or an All-Pro, do they have a Pro Bowler on their defensive front?
No.
And so it's, the committee approach works as long as Dexter brings it together.
For sure.
But that's step one. And then step two, some of these young guys. Shamar Stewart, Miles Murphy, Boye Mafe, I'm going to consider him a young guy going into a second contract. You need two of those three to be absolute hits, minimum. And you would certainly hope that it's all three plus Cassius Howe, and now you're really cooking. But that's why I'm going to sell this. Like, not that they can't get there, but there's just, everybody has a question mark right now.
No question about it. You're absolutely right. But I think where I'm at right now is we see players in the NFL every single year surprise and disappoint in terms of the production over their careers. And for the Bengals right now, every defense in the NFL is just on paper. Whether it's a coaching change or roster changes or whatever it is, some more than others. I understand that. The Bengals probably leading that group in terms of the overall changes they made to their defense this year. But in terms of on paper, this defensive line is really, really good to me. And I think when you're comparing it to everyone else in the league, the depth is what sets them apart. Maybe you don't have that killer, but having Dexter Lawrence in the middle and Jonathan Allen, not as the marquee guy on the defensive line, but as a second fiddle kind of to Dexter Lawrence, I think just really frees him up to hopefully tap back into some fountain of youth stuff there. And then you said 2 out of the 3 in the edge room need to hit in order to have success, and you're absolutely right. But I just think the Bengals having more bites at the apple here this year to get those 2 that hit, give them a better chance of that coming to fruition.
Yeah, I totally get that logic. And it's, if, like I said, if it happens, they're going to win the division. They may be the best team in football.
Yeah.
I mean, because if they have a top 10 defensive front and they can protect Joe Burrow and they have those weapons, sometimes things are pretty simple. Not easy, but simple.
Yeah.
And that's a simple path to being not just relevant, but really good. It all can come together with Dexter. You see that Dexter, like if they, like just take Dexter out, it doesn't feel like the defensive front is such a strength anymore. Like
They're not on this list without Dexter Lawrence.
Well, no doubt. There's a lot of pressure there, literally, on him to deliver and be that guy and be a guy that has 8 sacks or 9 sacks and do that. And by the way, maybe he has 4 sacks, but he's causing so much disruption and getting so much attention that Jonathan Allen has 10. And I don't think that wouldn't be the biggest shock in the world. Like if this line does end up being a top 10 defensive front, Allen getting the sack numbers or Hill getting the sack numbers because Dexter Lawrence is that giant in the middle commanding all the attention. The path is there. That's all you can ask for, by the way. This is not me being negative on them. They stunk last year, and they stunk the year before in the defensive front, in that room. They needed to improve in a big way, and they have. Now they just have to go prove it. And I don't think that's going out on a limb from that perspective. I think the potential's there. Show me. We may come in the Monday after that Tampa Bay game, and Tampa Bay scores 6 points because Baker Mayfield's head is in the, I was going to say the dirt, but in the turf at Paycor all game long because of Dexter in this defensive front. And if that's the case, one they're going to win. Yeah. 2, they're going to have a top 10 defensive front because that is no easy offensive line to go against with Tampa Bay. So we'll see. We'll see. But I need to see some of it. I can't just say, oh, yeah, they're a top 10 unit. very much improved. But they were like 31st last year. So they've already bumped up in a big way.
There's nothing better than the ability to have this conversation. And I think that's why it's so great about the front office and what they did this offseason, because we're actually talking about strengths on the Bengals defense and potentially being a top 10 unit on the defensive line. The ceiling is higher than it's been in a long time for this Bengals team.
If they didn't add to the defensive front the way they did, I would be telling Jacob to bulk up and rekindle his defensive line days. We are going to be joined by Brian Giesenthal coming up at 8:35, but up next, it is time for While You Slept. We'll start with the Reds right here on First Word.
Hi, my name is Natalie Jones, a Cincinnati native, and I have been in media for about 10 years now. Formerly on the radio here in Cincinnati, I grew my love and obsession with finding all things fun in Cincinnati and have now made it my life. I'm originally from the west side here, and then I've pretty much been a downtown girl ever since college. But I did leave for 7 years, and during that time, I really grew and harnessed and cut my teeth doing stand-up comedy in Los Angeles, learning how to ski in Colorado, and now I'm back here in Cincinnati, driven by curiosity and grounded by family.
Cincinnati, home to more than a dozen Fortune 500 companies. A city where you know someone who knows someone, and you're in business. Every weekday at noon, The Working Lunch brings you headlines from local businesses, along with exclusive interviews with owners and local leaders. East Side, West Side, northern suburbs, downtown over the Rhine, and northern Kentucky. Real conversations, real Cincinnati. The Working Lunch with Jack Crumley, weekdays at noon, only on The Crown.
Another rebound rundown local update. We're hopping across the Ohio River this time to Highland Heights in northern Kentucky, taking a look at Darren Horn's squad. The Norse trying to win the Horizon League, something they did a few years ago, something they've done multiple times under Darren Horn, trying to do that again with a fairly new look roster. Some returners, some fresh faces. Eric Acker from LaSalle, Noah Pagano, Will Short, BJ Davis-Ray, the addition from SMU. Saw a lot of game action at SMU as far as games played, but didn't see a ton of minutes with the Mustangs. But that is a high-profile ACC high major conference transfer that'll be suiting up for NKU this season. That is a major addition. Plus, you get the return of point guard Ethan Elliott, looking to add some more scoring there to Ethan Elliott's game this upcoming season. A lot to be excited about. One of the top squads expected to be in the Horizon League this year are the Norse. So stay tuned for plenty more right here about the Norse on the Rebound Rundown.
I'm James Rapien, and this is your First Word Bengals Minute. It's no secret that the Bengals made a gigantic move this offseason when they traded for Dexter Lawrence. The 6'4", 340-pound defensive tackle should transform a defense that has been awful over the past couple of years. The Bengals haven't made the playoffs since 2022, in large part because of the departures of key pieces of the teams that went to back-to-back AFC championship games, teams that were Super Bowl contenders. Are the Bengals a Super Bowl contender with Dexter Lawrence? That remains to be seen. But what we do know is they have an identity on defense, and it revolves around Dexter Lawrence. By trading the 10th pick, the only time in team history they traded a top 10 draft pick for a player, they added a guy that should transform their defense and give them a real shot at getting back to Super Bowl contention. For more on the Bengals, make sure you check out First Word every single weekday, 7 to 11, right here on The Crown.
Welcome back to First Word. I'm James Rapien alongside Tony Tissot, a.k.a. Jacob Tissot, a.k.a. Tony Trisket. I like that.
Doesn't the real name come first?
I like that. I like that. No. You're Tony for the rest of the show. Tony Santillan let the Reds down. We'll get to that and much, much more in While You Slept. But just a reminder, you can catch us every single weekday, 7 to 11, right here on The Crown. And that's live on RESN. That's obviously on YouTube Live. Shout out to everyone watching on YouTube. Live on X as well. And if you want to listen, take us with you on the go while you're commuting, while you're driving to work. Well, Mixlr is the way to do that. Just check us out on Mixlr as well. Search The Crown, and boom, we'll have you covered here on First Word. Let's dive into the Reds, because the Reds, well, they're getting a bad rap on today's show, and I apologize to everyone not named Tony Santillan, because you can't trust the Tony, because Tony Santillan let the Reds down last night, 5-2, lost to the Royals. They fall to 31-30 on the season, and Santillan giving up the 3 runs in the ninth, the big reason why.
Yeah, not great, but I wish it was more of a surprise. I think that's the thing at this
Not great
point
is a heck of a way to do it. I've nicknamed you Tony Tissot, so that's why you say not great.
Yeah, I mean, I wish it was more of a shock. I think when Tony Santillan came out, it was, I hope he can do something he hasn't done for the last month, and that's get the Reds over the hump and get a save here tonight or last night, and that just obviously wasn't the case. He didn't have the stuff, and the problem with that is he had the same stuff he's had for the last month, an 11 ERA in May, an 18 ERA so far this year, pitching in the 9th inning. And quite frankly, the Reds don't have many other options to close baseball games at this point. You're going to throw out Zach McCambley in his major league debut. You had Mole, who pitched yesterday. It's an incredibly tough position for this Reds bullpen right now, and it's even more frustrating when you get the start you did from Chase Burns. 9 Ks through 6 innings, only 4 hits, 2 earned runs, and really just a great start from the pitcher who has been at the front of the Reds rotation all year. So far this year, offense doesn't do enough. Bullpen lets it slip through their fingers, and the Reds have another loss.
Another loss. I, again, apologize in advance for all the Tony slander, but it is rough for Tony Santillan. Look at that graphic there.
Yeah.
Look at that WAR.
Worst among relievers in baseball.
I'm not shocked by that. Like, the minus 1.1, it's June 4th.
You don't pitch enough to accrue a full negative game. You're a reliever. How is that possible?
I blow.
Over a game.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be possible. It's absolutely insane how far Tony Santillan has fallen from what he once was in this bullpen from a confidence perspective, and also just the trajectory everyone in this fan base thought he was on. He was a name that was consistently thrown out for closing roles. Much less high leverage, that was just a given, but it's certainly not where he is right now, and I wish the Reds had other options and other places to go, but they quite frankly just don't.
Yeah, and that's the tough part, is the numbers are bad, but it sounds like Tony Santillan going to continue to pitch for the Reds. We will see what happens there as far as that goes. What we do know is that Noelvi Marte is back.
Yes.
Not a bigger Noelvi Marte fan on the planet, including his family, other than this guy. And I'll give you your real name back. Jacob Tissot loves Noelvi Marte. His reaction, we posted it on our socials at First Word Cincy. My man flexed when I told him during our show prep meeting for today, when yesterday the news broke that Marte was a Red.
Yeah, very, very fired up. This is a guy that I've kind of been banging the table to get back up here since he got sent down. I know he struggled so far this year, but an incredibly small sample size, less than 30 at-bats to start this year, and he was great down the stretch in right field last year. So I think he certainly makes a lot of sense to be on this Reds lineup and on this Reds roster, and it makes a lot more sense when you lose Elly De La Cruz. You got to maximize the talent and potential in the lineup, and there's not a lot of players in this Reds organization with more talent than Noelvi Marte.
Yep, no doubt about it, and we'll see if he can make an impact for the Cincinnati Reds. Thierry Francona talked about that. This video, courtesy of my man Mike Petralia, a.k.a. Trags on X, on Thierry Francona. This is before the loss to the Royals yesterday, but the promotion of Marte and sending TJ Friedel down.
That he'll get a chance to play every day and try to kind of rediscover being Friedel. You know, he's not that far removed from being our leadoff hitter and our everyday center fielder, and he's kind of fallen on some tough times. And sitting the bench, I don't know, you know, I mean, you're right, it was very difficult. Like, we labored over it.
Yeah.
The conversation with him is, He's an unbelievable teammate. He's an unbelievable kid. Just think this gives him the best chance to find himself.
You said some of the conversations you've had with him, even in the last few weeks, how well he responded and reacted. Did you get that same sense here?
Last night when we won, he was first one out of the dugout. Right. That's consistent. Yeah, he's good. He understood. He listened. He talked. Very thoughtful, and he's nothing that we feel has changed about him.
Yeah.
Just want to give him a chance to try to kind of rediscover what he can do.
As far as Marte goes, everyone can look and see the numbers, but what do you feel like he's gained from his work there as he comes back this time?
He's been sent back a couple times, and both times he's responded by playing really well. And that's what you'd love to see. He'll play some right field. You're probably going to see him in center field too. And again, I don't know if I can make out the lineup ahead of time, but he's going to play. He'll play, and we'll see where it fits.
As far as what's made him mostly more different than maybe when he left here, did PK or anybody say, hey, he's really stepped up in this area?
He obviously swung the bat very well.
Right.
It's so hard now to almost quantify, because some guys come up and swing it Blade and keep swinging it.
Right.
Some guys come up and it's like you don't see. So I think everybody's different. I think the hardest thing for us to gauge is guys that chase, you pay for it way more here. There's better finish on breaking balls. And so that's going to be a key with Marte too.
That video courtesy of Mike Petraglia. And look, the Reds bullpen, I just pulled it up, the graphic from from 2 nights ago. 4 innings, no hits, no runs, and it was Antone, Mole, Maxwell, Burke. And they handled business. You get the extra innings win. And 24 hours ago, we're like, man, that could be a season saver. That could help them, propel them. Suddenly you could win the series against the Royals. When you have, the next night, Santillan do this, it goes out the window very fast. And we're questioning the bullpen, and we're questioning Tony, and all of those things. You're hoping that Noelvi Marte can be the bright spot, because there's been a lot of times where TJ Friedel's been where Tony Santillan's been this offseason, or this season, excuse me. And the Reds said, you know what? Marte's figured it out. We're going to bring him back up. We'll see if he does. But that's it. These are the ebbs and flows of the season. Let's tie it together. Marte was bad at the beginning of the year. They sent him down. Jacob would update me every single day on his stats in AAA. And so now, all right, Marte, show us. It's going to be a big weekend for him.
Absolutely.
And it's huge for this Reds team if he can give them something. Because TJ Friedel didn't. You obviously hope that Tony Santillan figured it out. Friedel clearly wasn't figuring it out, had a lot of opportunities. So now you go back to Marte and hope he found something in AAA that he can use in the big leagues.
Absolutely. That would be the hope, and that's always really the thought process in sending a lot of these exciting young guys down to AAA when they're struggling, is just to guarantee every day at bats, guarantee the time that they'll need to work through some of those struggles. And Francona said it right there. Marte was swinging the bat really, really well in AAA, led the whole league in batting average and OPS during his time with the bats. But the biggest thing that Marte got sent down for was not swinging the bat. His chase rate was absurd up here in the majors, getting up towards 30%, and he didn't have a great feel for the zone, swinging at pitches that were clear in the other's batter box and things along those lines that just made him close to an unplayable player at times, letting the pitchers take the easy way out in terms of those at-bats. But last night was about as good as I could have seen from Marte in a one-at-bat pinch hit performance. Yeah. He took 4 pitches, 2 of them were close enough to be ABS challenged, and he walked. That's a huge step for a guy that does not take a lot of pitches that are borderline. And the first 2 in an at-bat in a close game where you have to get on base to give the Reds a chance, he sat there with the bat on his shoulder and took some pitches. So hopefully he matured a little bit in AAA, got a better feel for the zone, and can hit the ground running up here in the majors, because he is incredibly talented, a former top 30 prospect, the main return with Edwin Arroyo in the trade for Luis Castillo years ago. So he needs to be a major part of this team, and if the Reds are going to get anywhere in terms of October baseball or playoff baseball, Noelvi Marte is going to have to be playing well. And we saw that at the the end of last year when he got hot and made a play, defensively and offensively at the end of the year to get the Reds over the hump. He's going to be a key piece of this if the Reds are in any kind of contention at the end of this year. So you get him back up, get him back in a groove, and hopefully you can take off a little bit.
Yeah, if he gets in a groove like J.J. Bleday, then the Reds might just be okay. All right, J.J. Bleday, Player of the Month for May. Congrats to him. I thought this was pretty cool. I thought of you right away. What'd you say?
April AAA Player of the Month.
No doubt.
And then May, National League Player of the Month. Just not taking a break at all. He's been incredible.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it, the 8 home runs and 25 RBI. When I saw the May stats, I was like, oh, well, yeah. But I didn't realize it. Like, I knew he was playing well. Yeah. But when you see those numbers of the 301, first in NL in slugging, first in NL in OPS, the RBI, like, okay, let's go. Let's do it. So J.J. Bleday, keep it rolling. They need that to happen. They also need some fun people to throw out the first pitch. Yeah. Landon Robinson did this yesterday. It's a good segue into the Bengals. The Bengals took Landon Robinson in the 7th round of the draft in April, and former Navy star graduated from the academy and gets on the mound and throws out this first pitch. Look at this. Bam.
That's awesome.
Pretty good pitch.
Yeah.
Just throwing it out there.
No,
pretty
certainly
good pitch.
not bad. Really, the crux of first pitches is just don't be bad enough to be spread all around social media, and he certainly wasn't.
That would be my goal.
Yeah.
My goal would be, hey, get it somewhere near the plate without hitting the ground.
Boom.
Make sure the catcher can catch it, and that's it. You give the catcher an opportunity. It's very quarterback heel.
Yeah.
Is give the catcher an opportunity to make a play. That's it.
Landon Robinson was probably the most talked about day 3 prospect leading up to the draft
of
from
all
Bengals
time?
fans. Of all time, in terms of how excited Bengals fans were for the prospect of having him in stripes this year. And now to see him already throwing out a first pitch at the Reds Stadium has to be cool for a guy that grew up a Bengals fan. I have to assume he grew up a Reds fan as well. So really cool to see him have that moment.
Yeah, no doubt about it. By the way, speaking of the Bengals, it's Bears. It's a joint practice ahead of their Week 2 matchup in the preseason. And one, I love this. Two, I love that it's here. And you love this because maybe you'll get to see your guy Caleb Williams a little bit. But yeah, I love that the Bengals having a joint practice. And look, I got to be honest. The ones on the road, and Jay Morrison's tweet as you're looking at there, the 2024 joint practice in Chicago, they went up there and it just got rained on. Yeah. And it was a pain. Joe struggled. It was kind of annoying, and it didn't set the tone for the season, but it was good foreshadowing. Hopefully this is a different result here, but it will be fun. Those practices are far more competitive than preseason games.
Of course.
Because there's 50 reps instead of 7. So it's going to be really valuable. I wouldn't be shocked if this means we don't see Joe in the preseason.
Wow. Okay.
Because you get 50 reps against first team, and that's always maybe you see him like one game, but last year, you know how they were playing him multiple games, and it was silly narrative anyway, because then they went to Cleveland and stunk on offense after he lit it up in the preseason. So does it really matter? I've always been anti-preseason for Joe Burrow and some of these stars, but yeah, for me, knowing this, hey, get all those reps in during the joint practice. But I love to see it. Zach Taylor and Ben Johnson have a great relationship, so it's cool that they're going to have another joint practice and that it's going to be here in town to potential playoff teams.
Always pro joint practices. I think the clips that come out afterwards, the competition, the trash talk, all of it's good for the league. Hope we don't get any swinging helmets this year. Don't need any injuries to the Bengals in the trenches. No Aaron Donald, at least
Donald
back to the league yet.
Is he back?
But I hope not.
Is he joining the Bears?
I hope not.
Oh, my God.
That'd be bad news.
Stay in the NFC.
That's the joint practice memory that's always in the front of my mind.
Wild. I was right there. I have a photo of him like...
Oh, yeah. It's like Thor with his hammer. It's an insane picture.
You make the Thor reference. I saw him walking out to practice that day, and I thought he was Thanos.
Yeah.
And then he goes out and, he does his best Thor impression. One more, because Caleb Williams will be here for the joint practice. He's also on the cover of Madden 27. Jacob is a big Caleb Williams guy, so not shocked that you were excited about this. But, I was surprised they went with Caleb Williams. They're getting ahead. For sure. They're trying to get ahead of it. I would have been stunned 3 months ago if you said Caleb Williams was the cover of Madden. I don't even think I would have bet like Jahmyr Gibbs is on the cover of Madden before Caleb Williams. I'm just naming like an NFC North star that isn't even a quarterback.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think a lot of people were surprised by it. I think the way he ended the year certainly kind of lent himself to, a lot of the press and stuff he's gotten throughout this offseason. And Caleb Williams is kind of a video game player anyway, highlight based, not really the best if you watch all the plays through. So makes sense to throw him on the cover. I saw people comparing it to Jazz Chisholm on the cover of MLB The Show 23, like just a weird pick for the cover. One of the guys that's loved by a lot of fans, but maybe not in that top echelon of players. But I think what they did with the cover was really cool, doing the Jordan jump man with the skyline underneath. I thought it was a good cover, but I don't know. Madden curse, are you a believer or not?
I would be uneasy if Joe Burrow or Jamar Chase were on the cover. So,
yeah,
believer is probably too strong. Enough to like say, is it worth it? Yeah, like Joe, just sign with another beverage company or something and get your money that way, But it is, I think it's an awesome cover. You pay how much to Michael Jordan? He's not going to be Michael Jordan. No. That's fine. I think Caleb Williams is talented in the Madden cover. Do it. You know what I need? I need Madden, the game itself, to be good.
That would be nice.
It would be good. It would be nice if it was much better than it's been in really the past like 15 years, where it feels like it hasn't upgraded a ton.
Man, the first Madden 25 was the last good Madden, I think.
The first Madden 25.
What was that, 2015?
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. The
25-year anniversary. Madden 25 stunk, so I didn't want to just straight up say Madden 25.
Gotcha. Totally get it. All right. Well, that's enough video game talk for now. We should have a Madden tournament. See?
Yes.
That would be fun. You know what else is fun? Talking Reds. Are they going to keep their head above water? Brian Giesenthal will join us coming up at 8:30, and we'll continue the Reds conversation next, right here on First Word.
This is the Rebound Rundown. I'm your host, Paul Fritchner. Your home for college basketball in the Cincinnati area and across the country every Monday through Friday during the season. Previews, recaps, breakdowns, interviews, and more. You can find it all right here. Your one-stop shop for a quick dose of college hoops on your morning commute. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm James Rapien, and this is your First Word Bengals Minute. Obviously, Dexter Lawrence was a big addition this offseason, but I'm not sure there's going to be a guy that has a bigger impact than Brian Cook. Why? Well, it's pretty simple. The Bengals safeties have stunk over the past couple of years, and the Bengals have missed the playoffs not one, not two, but 3 straight seasons. That coincides, that streak, with the loss of Jesse Bates. And Brian Cook is someone that's going to come in and bring leadership, bring 2 Super Bowl rings, and bring the identity that they need on the back end, because he's going to do his job. Jesse Bates was so good at putting out fires around him, covering up mistakes that other people would make on defense. Brian Cook can do that. He's big, he's fast, he's physical. Joe Burrow has praised him for what he's done to the Bengals locker room from a culture standpoint, what he's brought. Brian Cook is going to be a game changer. For more, make sure you check out First Word weekdays, 7 to 11, right here on The Crown. The Crown has you covered. Start your day with First Word, Cincinnati's only morning sports show. Power through midday with the working lunch, Cincinnati business talk that keeps you in the know. Nat tries that for lifestyle around the city, and the Rebound Rundown covers every corner of the college basketball scene in the tri-state and beyond. This is The Crown. First Word for your morning sports, Nat tries that for lifestyle around the city, the working lunch for business that hits home, and Rebound Rundown for college hoops. This city deserves its crown. Watch, listen, subscribe.
My name is Jacob Tissot, and I'm a co-host of First Word from 7 to 11 every morning right here on the Crown Network, where we will break down the biggest stories in Cincinnati sports. I'm a graduate of the University of Alabama, where I spent 4 seasons working for the football team as a student assistant, contributing to the 2020 National Championship and 3 SEC championships. I'm a Cincinnati native, a St. Xavier High School graduate, and will bring a local perspective and passion to covering the Bengals, Reds, and everything in between. I'm excited to have you join us on First Word.
It's time to talk Reds. Welcome back to First Word. I'm James Rapien alongside Jacob Tissot and Marisa Contipelli, who's on vacation. And Brian Giesenthal loves when I mention that Marisa is on vacation.
I'm not on vacation, so I'll gladly occupy this seat for as long as you guys would like.
Yeah, thanks for filling in and joining us here. Obviously, you can catch Brian on Reds Live. And, well, I was hoping to have you on after 2 out of 3 wins, 3 straight wins over the Royals, something like that. And instead, the Reds dropped 2 of 3 to Kansas City. Biggest takeaway, probably the bullpen. What's your biggest takeaway? I don't want to speak for you.
No, the biggest takeaway I thought was just so many things were happening on this homestand. You're right. This is tough. That was a disappointing game to lose last night. It was disappointing that they were in that position to start with based on everything that happened the day before when you had to have the walk-off just to get it done. But they kind of set themselves up for Game 3 to be able to leave instead of saying, oh, we salvaged a game in the series to we had some momentum. We kind of started to settle some things down after the De La Cruz injury and the call-ups and the other things that have happened. And instead it didn't happen. And that was disappointing and that was tough. My takeaway is, where do they go? When does the dust settle from everything that happened? Because, the transactions and the changes and the new faces and dealing with the injury news, all that stuff is heavy. I think it takes a minute or two for everyone to figure out what the next step is. But now you got to figure those steps out and win games. And the road trip is not going to be easy. And so my takeaway was, like everybody else, a game and a series that got away. But now what? How do you fix it moving forward?
Yeah, and then that's the question, is what options are there? I think that's what a lot of people are coming back to right now. Tony Santillan hasn't had it in the 9th, but Francona said yesterday they're looking to him for that consistency piece in the bullpen. What other options are there?
Well, the point that I made last night, a lot of people asked me about Santillan last night, was what other option would you have gone with last night? Sam Maul, Brock Burke had each pitched 3 or 4 days. And that's telling of where the Reds are right now, that Sam Maul and Brock Burke were probably their best options or people you would consider for that situation. And I went back and I looked last night and I just started thinking about the season in total. Santillan in his first 14 appearances was scored on once. His first 14 appearances of the season, he gave up runs 1 time. It's completely changed since then, but kind of in the same way that Andrew Abbott had a really tough time at the start of the season. And you said, I know the Andrew Abbott, who was the All-Star, is in there. When is he going to show up? I'm going to be a little more patient with him because I know that that's in there. I think that's how they feel about Santillan right now, but his opportunities to be a difference maker are hyper-focused because it's usually 3 outs in the 9th. It's not a start where you can have a bad inning and recover like Abbott did a few times. That's what the job is at the end of the game, and right now that's a tough place to find yourself. So, last night, outside of the fact that Caleb Ferguson threw, TJ Antone threw on consecutive days, the other options were Zach McCambley, big league debut, Luis May, hasn't been able to do it yet, maybe Zach Maxwell, who's looked better, but maybe isn't there yet. There just aren't a lot of options. And I do think they have to figure that out. And where they are right now is maybe this is where you stop and go, this is why we have Terry Francona. Because right now you have a manager who has to do a lot of managing. Some of those decisions, trying to figure out what the right move forward is. We won 2,000 plus games, and all those seasons and all those wins, it wasn't like everything went well for him. Everybody wasn't healthy. Everything fell into place. He had to make those decisions, and the Reds are in a place right now where they need their manager to guide them through this and see where it goes. Depth is an issue, but the Reds were set up with depth. They added Pierce Johnson and Caleb Ferguson later in the offseason when you looked at what they already had and said, okay, it kind of sets up kind of well. These were depth pieces. The Maxwells and the Mays and those guys aren't supposed to be here yet. They're supposed to be taking another step at AAA and then contributing at some point this season. They're here, and the Reds need them, so they have to figure all that out.
I think the Abbott comp is a really interesting one. I call him All-Star Abbott. I was a believer all throughout his struggles in April. When we were talking, we'd go back and forth about it.
And this side of the desk was out on. Marisa
Out is a
and
strong
Jacob,
word.
they were selling. So it's good to have you on that side because Abbott has obviously come through.
Figured it out.
And they're going to need Tony to do the same. I mean, that's it. As you ran through all of that, Buster only had something earlier this morning. Like, everyone's looking for bullpen help.
Right.
Like, it's going to be really,
Every
really
team.
hard. Yes.
Right.
And so, what's the most likely scenario? I think you're right. Your Hall of Fame manager navigates the choppy waters, gets you through this, and it's a long season. Like, Tuesday night felt like a season saver, and then Wednesday you lose, and it's like, man, it's tough. It's tough to balance.
Here's the other thought I had. The other thought I had was, people have asked me, and I knew when the Reds were 20-11 and off to the best start in 20 years for this franchise, they weren't that good. When they lost 10 of 12, they weren't that bad. Some things evened up, but that team that played well early in the season looked completely different than the team that they have right now. And if they find their way through what they're dealing with right now, it might be with a group of people that looks completely different than what it is right now. Not completely different, but you haven't had Pagan and Ashcraft and those guys. Now you're not going to have De La Cruz. Now Noelvi Marte's back. I'm just saying a lot has changed in each little segment of the season so far. And so if we're sitting here a month from now and the Reds pulled it together and had a decent month and they're still right there, I wonder who we're talking about then, because in April, who would have known we were talking about J.J. Bleday?
Yeah.
In April, who would have known we were talking about, hey, Blake Dunn looks like he can maybe sustain some of this now. And so a month from now, is it going to be Marte? Is it going to be Arroyo? Is it going to be one of those guys in the bullpen? Is it going to be the return of Rhett Lauder? Something like that. It's just the one thing I've learned after all these years. It's cliche to say the season is so long, but every overreaction after a week of baseball looks so stupid when you look back a month later because everything's different. So we'll see.
It is. And I've seen Tito firsthand in 2019. It was the Trevor Bauer year where he got traded here.
Yeah.
And I was covering him in Cleveland.
Okay.
And all the talk was, are they going to pay for Francisco Lindor, and are they going to extend him? And the answer was no. Like, we all knew that. So are they going to trade him? This was Jose Ramirez's worst season. He was hitting like 200. He was doing what Matt McClain's doing right now. And all these things were going on. Corey Kluber was hurt. And you looked up and they won like 84 games. And they were right there. And the Central was too good. They didn't make the playoffs. But they were right there. And I think Terry is equipped to do this. I think a lot of people, especially in Cincinnati, are up and down on him when in some of these decisions that he's made. But I agree with you. This is why you have him.
That's why you have him.
So you can get through June when things aren't perfect.
And this is not defense of Terry Francona, but there's always things we don't know. When everyone was wondering, somewhere between wondering and very upset that Junior Marte was in that game at a one-run, we didn't know Pierce Johnson was hurt. He was still there, and that was the day that all kind of raised its head. We didn't know that. Terry Francona, Derek Johnson, all those guys, they're not sitting back there just throwing darts at the board trying to decide, here's what we should do. There's so many things that happen in that clubhouse and in that dugout on a daily basis of someone who feels well, doesn't feel well, might be on their way to being hurt, not yet diagnosed, all those things. But again, that's why you have the manager and put that kind of faith and trust in someone who's proven to be able to do this before. And at the end of the day, one, I'm not going to say, well, it's still early, it's just early June. It is. But you look at the division right now, and there are 4 teams separated by, on any given night, a game and a half, 2 games. They've all gone through some of the same stuff. There's still that big cluster of teams trying to figure out who's going to separate, who's going to stand out, and there's a lot of time for a lot of different things to happen. But not to downplay the fact that this is a pretty serious part of the season right now to figure out, because there's some things that aren't going to change in the short term. Graham Ashcraft is not going to be back in the short term. Hunter Green's not going to be back in the short term. That's why I think this is a time in the season that we may look back on and say, okay, what did they do then and what worked and didn't work?
Will Ellie De La Cruz be back in the near future? Rhett Lauder expected to be back on Sunday. We'll continue the conversation with Brian Giesenthal next, right here on First Word.
city of Cincinnati, Ohio.
We welcome you from Cincinnati, Ohio.
Nick Hadley, the fan favorite, to put it away. Touchdown, Cincinnati. Oh, what a catch. The Cincinnati Bears score. Dalvin Cook scores and the Reds win.
A rebound rundown local update. Now let's talk about the Dayton Flyers and their roster under head coach Anthony Grant trying to get back to the NCAA tournament for the first time since 2024. A rough season this past year where they had a fairly good non-conference but just couldn't get it done in A-10 play. Trying to flip the script now, and I really like the roster that they have put together. A couple of high major transfers. Zayd Lowry, one of them, coming over from Marquette. Travis Perry, another one, somebody you might remember who spent some time in a Kentucky uniform. Jalen Haynes, who didn't play at all for Cincinnati this past season, he's back in the A-10. Played at George Mason, didn't play now at Cincinnati after getting hurt, and he's back in the A-10 at Dayton. You add those new pieces to the returners to the Flyers, and I really like their chances in the A-10 this season. Stay tuned for plenty more on Dayton on the Rebound Rundown.
I'm Jacob Tissot, and it's time for another Tissot's Take. The Reds took Chase Burns with the second overall pick in the draft just a couple of years ago, and so far in his first full Major League season, he's been one of the best pitchers in the National League. A fastball that can touch the triple digits, and it's not even his best pitch, one of the most dominant sliders in baseball. Burns has had a successful ERA, one of the lowest in the league so far, coupled with a top 10 whip in baseball for starting pitchers. He has been dominant on the mound with elite strikeout stuff, struggled a little bit with the walks, but has been able to reel that back in over his last few starts, and seriously looks like one of the best pitchers in baseball at only 23 years old. The sky's the limit for Chase Burns, and that's what you're hoping for if you're the Cincinnati Reds, taking a college pitcher second overall in the draft. I'm Jacob Tissot, and you're watching First Word. Stay tuned till 11 a.m. for more on the Reds and Bengals.
Hey, I'm Marisa Contipelli, one of the co-hosts on First Word and a features producer here on The Crown, where I will be out and about in Cincinnati bringing you the stories that you need to hear in the Queen City. Now, I know I'm from Cleveland, but I love my Cincy sports. I've been in Cincinnati for almost a decade now, spending the last 8 seasons with the Bengals as a team reporter and senior producer. I am so excited to be a part of the team here at The Crown, and I can't wait to bring you the latest from around the city.
First Word rolls on a Thursday. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler will join us coming up at 9 live here as we switch gears and talk Bengals. But Brian Giesenslaw is here in studio to talk all things Reds.
Have I told you yet how nice this is? I didn't even congratulate the two of you on the space and the show and everything that's happening here. This is fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good luck. It's off to a good start.
Thank you. No, it's off to a good start partially because you're here right now talking Reds with us. And I'm hoping that it brings good news here when it comes to number 44. We know Rhett Lauder's making his way back, and I want to ask you about him, but let's start with Elly De La Cruz, because 10-day injured list, we see that, and it's like, oh, okay, it's 10 days.
Yeah.
And then we hear 14 to 28 days, and it's a soft tissue injury for a speedster that's going to use his speed. What do you think with Elly?
I think we knew when he pulled up. I don't think realistically, I don't think anybody could think, hey, this is short. This is only going to be a few days. What I liked was post-game, his body language and his tone. A lot of times you can tell a lot from an athlete by how they react. They don't hide things very well. My wife tells me I don't hide things very well. Athletes don't hide things
Join
very
the club.
well.
Yeah.
There's that. But I thought, okay, if I believe anything, I don't just believe what he says. I believe kind of how he's carrying himself and presenting this right now. But hamstrings, no. You're not going to be back in a few days. So it did not surprise me that it was going to be at least a couple of weeks because that's either the time they need for him to get right or that's the time they need for him to get right and feel really good about bringing him back. Missing him for 3 weeks now, if it's 3 weeks or 4 weeks, is better than bringing him back and then having him go back down and having him miss 2 months. That sounds like what the manager might say or something like that, but I believe that. So I think it's going to be a minute. I think they're going to slow play it. He is somebody that's going to probably be back there sooner than the average major league player. I think he's, Tito said he's kind of miraculous that way, and I believe that. I think we've seen some of that. But I think it's going to be a minute. So what I told Sam last night of the postgame show was we have to get to a point now, and the Reds have to get to a point where you're not talking about Elly De La Cruz and his injury every day. He's gone. Managers say this all the time. Tell me who's in the lineup tonight. Tell me who's in the clubhouse and who's in the dugout, and that's who I want to talk about. De La Cruz is a massive absence, and there's a trickle-down effect to the lineup and everything about it. But he's gone, and he's going to be out for a little while. So now figure it out. In terms of how they figure it out, the thing that I'm curious about is we saw Rees-Hines at Louisville kill it and then couldn't make it work here. Edwin Arroyo, led the International League in hitting all season. We don't know yet. The only person that's really hit well down there and then it's translated here is J.J. Bleday. So you just don't know. And when Marte came up yesterday, and you're talking about how well he played, there's still that big question mark. Is it going to translate this time? What's different about the last 40 games that he spent there as opposed to some of his previous stops and then call-ups? So I think that's going to be something to watch. And Terry Francona, I found it interesting yesterday that he was so specific because instead of the way this usually goes is he played well and we hope it works out here because we believe he can help us and he's a good player.
Yep.
He went right away and said, guys who chase, which Noelvi Marte likes to chase, an incredibly talented hitter. He said, guys who chase, it's so much more difficult at this level, the major league level. You just can't get away with it.
Yep.
So whether it's chasing out of the zone or chasing a pitch in the zone that's not necessarily his best pitch to hit, if he chases, you can get away with that sometimes at Louisville. You can't get away with it here. So that has to be the biggest adjustment that he makes to make it work here.
Noelvi Marte, obviously a lot of questions about him at the plate, but also looking at potentially a second position change in as many years. Moved from third to right field last year, played a lot of center field down in AAA this year. How often do you expect to see him in center field now that he's back with the team?
Tito said yesterday you will see him, but he called him a right fielder who will play some center. So I think it depends on the lineup, the matchups, who's pitching, that type of thing. Everyone, and Colin Cowgill works with these guys in the outfield, and he loves Noelvi Marte. He loved working. He loved that project last season when Marte moved from the infield to the outfield. In fact, he was the one that went to Terry Francona and said, I think he can do it. He worked with Julio Rodriguez in Seattle, kind of on a similar transition, and he worked tirelessly with Marte last year to make that work. And the more you look back on that, those moves don't happen in season.
Right.
Those are the things that at the big league level, you send somebody, you send them down or you send them into the offseason and say, hey, next year when you show up, let's see if you can play the outfield. That was bold last year to put him out there, and it wasn't perfect. By any stretch, it wasn't perfect. But they put him out there because they thought that would help, and at the time that it did. So now I think they believe that he has everything he needs to play in center field. But even in right field right now, they've all acknowledged it's still not going to be perfect. There's still going to be things, routes or reads that he makes that you can only really refine and get better with time. And he hasn't had the time yet. Is he physically, able to play those two positions? He's one of the most athletic guys on the team, absolutely. But you're still going to see some bumps, I think, from him. I still think it'll be more right and less center, but he'll play in center. It just might not be perfect.
Growing pains can be expected for sure.
That's right.
We're up against it, but real quick, JJ Bleday.
Yeah.
Just how I want to end on a positive.
Let's do that.
He's been awesome. He's been awesome.
He's been awesome. You always look at players like that, and that's been his resume. High draft pick and had some success, and then struggled. Talking to him right now, I didn't know him before, but talking to him right now, you can kind of read somebody when they're comfortable. And he is no longer searching. I think he found what he was looking for to get back to himself. He said that everybody says keep it simple, right? That's the advice everybody gets. If you struggle, let's go back and keep it simple. He said that kind of advice kind of complicated things for him because he got so simple that he removed the athleticism from his game and from his swing and from how he felt at the plate. He said he didn't feel athletic because he was trying to be so simple. Now he's gotten back to being athletic, and he just looks like someone who has this peace and calm about who he is at the plate right now, and it shows because he was good in the spring. He was great at Louisville, and from day one since he got here at the end of April, he's been really good. And so in terms of looking for a bright spot or hey, that project worked out for the front office, that's a great, I think you're looking at that one right now and going, that might be the best part of this early stretch of the season is the emergence of JJ Bleday into the player that he was probably drafted to be.
Yeah, love it. Love seeing JJ Bleday, National League Player of the Month for May, and love having Brian Giesenslaw on the show to talk Reds. Up next, we'll switch gears. We'll talk Bengals. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler will join us right here on First Word.
Hi, my name is Natalie Jones, and this week I'm hanging with my girl Tia Wallace, and we were at Kroger on the ride in Cincinnati, Ohio. On Thursdays, it becomes Club Kroger, and Tia's gonna give me a henna tattoo. She sets up shop here every Thursday and does henna tattoos. And I've gotten a bunch from her before, and so now I just came to Club Kroger to give one tonight.
My business name is The Duchess. I have been doing henna I taught myself in 1999. I got books. I practiced on myself. Nobody wanted it back then. It was like, what is that? They weren't like, do one for me. Fast forward 2013, that's when it became more mainstream.
This is Kroger on the Run and Over the Rhine, Cincinnati. This is actually my Kroger. I live just right around the corner. And on Thursdays, it turns into this Club Kroger. And it gets crazy. Like, it just started. And it just gets wild. God, girl, you're so good at this. There's so many people dancing around me. It is killing me not to be able to dance a little bit. It's henna.
Look at me.
He said it's not permanent, but it's gonna stick around for like a week, sometimes 10 days. I was really nervous. Yeah.
No, you gotta go right out there. Next time we out there. We out there.
Okay, good, I got my dancing out. I've been like one of the dancers we got here, and I've just been sitting still.
All right. Yep, our first time.
Should I not do the fingers?
Welcome into another Rebound Rundown local update. This time we're going to go up to Oxford, where the Miami Redhawks are going to do their best to replicate a historic season, an undefeated regular season for Miami and head coach Travis Steele, who just got a contract extension into the early 2030s. An awesome job by Travis Steele to get his team into the NCAA tournament this past season. Let's take a look now at what Miami is bringing back and what they've added. Rich Rolfe, Stevie Elam, and Preston Copeland, those are your additions for Miami this season, but you get back Evan Ipsara, who tore his ACL in December, the starting point guard Real junkyard dog defensive player Almar Atlason, a huge piece of this past year's team. Luke Skaljak as well, who filled in nicely as the starting point guard when Psara went down. Justin Kirby, a huge piece coming back for Miami this season. So if you're Miami, you have retention and you have some complementary pieces out of the portal. I like what they're building in Oxford. Hear about it more on The Rundown.
First Word continues as we roll on a guest-heavy, excited, by the way, to have a guest-heavy Thursday here. I'm James Rapien alongside Jacob Tissot. Big shout out to Brian Giesenthal for joining us to talk Reds last hour, but now it's time to switch gears and talk Bengals with one of the best. He's Jeremy Fowler of ESPN. Follow him on X at JFowlerESPN, and he's kind enough to join us now live. Jeremy, you're the man, and I appreciate the time, and I appreciate you coming on. Let's start with the talk of the town here, and it's been the talk of the town since he did his first Sexy Dexy during the NFL draft. Dexter Lawrence is so. How big of that move? How big is that move in NFL circles to you?
Hey guys, so I just came in the last word. Are you asking about some of the trades that happened this week, or where are we at?
Oh no, I got you. Sorry about that, Jeremy. I appreciate the time. Let's start with Dexter Lawrence because here in Cincinnati, when the Dexter Lawrence trade happened, people went crazy. You had kids learning the Sexy Dexy on the fly. It's obviously a huge move for the Bengals, historical move for them. How is that move, and how are their offseason moves in general viewed in NFL circles?
Yeah, great to be with you. It's viewed as a move that was necessary for a defense that's just been subpar for the last 2 years. You have to make a statement. He's still a player who should have multiple prime years left, who didn't have the sack production in 2025, but before that was probably the best defensive tackle in the NFL. So the Bengals are banking on him getting back to that point. If you look at some of these other trades for superstar players, superstar non-quarterbacks, they've had to give up a little bit more than the Bengals gave up. The Bengals gave up just the straight one. You know, it was a high pick, but the Bengals looked at the draft and said, we need to get a high-impact defensive player. We believe that the numbers are not going to play in our favor for where they were picking, which I believe was number 10 overall at the time.
Yep.
And there were going to be guys ahead of them picked that maybe they wanted that were going to be off the board at that point. So take the guesswork out, get a premier player. The money's not bad. I was really, from a Bengals standpoint, they can be happy with what they gave up financially. They gave him a raise, but it wasn't a crazy new deal compared to some of the money you're seeing out there. So this is a player who is probably on the back nine of his career, but on the front end of the back nine still has at least a couple years where they can be highly productive. Some of these other trades, Sauce Gardner, Myles Garrett, some of these other star players defensively, you're giving up way more than a first-round pick. So to get Lawrence for a one, the sense league-wide is that that's really good value. Even though it was a prime pick, it was only one pick, and that's reasonable for a player of that caliber.
The value is great, and obviously the production's a huge thing, but what does it mean for the Bengals locker room and all the people in that facility that the front office does take a swing of this caliber for a player of this level, even just removing the production side of things?
Yeah, it was a little bit of a shock to see the Bengals pop up on that headline, right? It's just not a move you typically see them make. There is pressure on the team. There's no doubt, after 2 years of defensively not being up to par, and the narrative, you've heard it, and it sort of applies league-wide a little bit. The offense is good enough where if the defense can just be average or maybe slightly above average, then you really have something. Now they've been in transition. had a lot of moving parts, new defensive coordinator. There's more that went into it. You had the Trey Hendrickson situation that really didn't end well. He'd wanted a contract for multiple years, was hurt last year. You didn't really have the personnel to get it done. So I think people recognize that. I recognize that. But now that you're at sort of an inflection point in Joe Burrow's career as he's getting closer to age 30, he's had some injuries, but when he's in there, you're getting 300-yard passing games more than anybody else. You have probably the best receiver tandem, if not one of the best in the league right now. It's time to seize the opportunity. So it looks like the Bengals are going for it a little bit, similar to what the Rams did, maybe to not that full scale to what LA does aggressively. They make more big blockbuster trades than anybody. But the fact that Cincinnati did it was a little bit of a changing of the guard for a franchise that, in their own way at least, recognize that they need to be a little more aggressive here than they normally would. But this is a perfect storm for them because they got a player who was old enough and coming off of a subpar season for his standards where you could get him at a reasonable price and the new contract wasn't going to be crazy. It was going to be within the Bengals constraints, which we know are probably a team that's willing to pay a little less than some others are as far as the pay scale and the contracts of today's era.
Jeremy Fowler is our guest of ESPN. Jeremy, in NFL circles, are the Bengals viewed as a contender again? They've missed the playoffs 3 straight years. They make this big swing for Dexter Lawrence. Obviously, you mentioned Joe Burrow and the skill guys that they have. Are they viewed that way?
They are viewed as, in a wide open AFC North, a contender. If you can get out of that division and you can just get in the dance, they're viewed as a team still like they were 3 or 4 years ago where anything's possible, right? Like you've seen the games they played against Kansas City when KC was in their prime. And it's one of those things where even when they lost, it felt like they probably should have won or they dropped the ball or a play away from winning. That element there still exists. It's tough though, because winning is infectious.
Yeah.
And losing is infectious too a little bit. So you can't just assume that year to year you're going to be able to bounce back. But this league is built on parity. If you've had some down years, as long as you are building the roster the right way and have enough personnel, it can flip from 7 wins to 11 wins pretty quickly. I mean, you see that league wide. The hard part about that is it's hard to dominate and be a cut above, so there are going to be a lot of teams in that 9 to 11 win range. That's probably where I would put them right now based on the defensive improvements, knowing that the offense is going to be there. Now, to shoot the Bengals some bail too, I think the passing game wasn't as crisp as it could have been last year. There's still some big plays to be had. Jamar Chase is still considered the best receiver in the NFL. There's another gear that he can hit too when him and Burrow really get cooking. Burrow needs to be in the lineup for the full year to do that. He's got to protect himself. There are a lot of variables there. But I think that's a team on the rise. And so because of that, I expect them to improve. The AFC North, to me, is more wide open than it's been probably in a long time. The Ravens are in transition a little bit. They've got some holes they have to fill in the roster. Pittsburgh clearly in transition, although they're not going full rebuild, but they're trying to hang in there. But, they've got a new head coach. They got moving parts. The Browns, I think they showed this week by the Myles Garrett trade that they feel like they're not quite there yet, that they're still in the rebuild, maybe a year away. Roster's getting better, but they have to find their quarterback. So there's no reason why Cincinnati can't win this division.
You mentioned the Myles Garrett trade from earlier this week right there. How long is a move of that caliber in the works between teams like this?
Yeah.
Obviously pops up a little bit of a surprise on June 1st, but I have to imagine they didn't just start talking about it this week.
Yeah, it's crazy. I've been working on that this week of just kind of piecing it all together, both trades, A.J. Brown and Myles Garrett. And, the Garrett trade really, from my understanding, when the Browns made the contract modification back in late March to move Myles Garrett's option bonus money from March to closer to week 1, right? It was kind of a different, curious move. So the Rams called at that point, hey, is this a possibility? We saw you made this move. It was kind of a flare signal to the league, even though the Browns insisted that they weren't doing that for trade purposes. They were doing it for other reasons. But once they did that, the Rams at least called. And then after the draft, even though the Browns weren't really open to trading him at that point, the Rams huddled up after the draft and said, okay, how do we do this? Do we still want to go after Myles? And then, so May, there were a lot of calls. I think by mid-May or so, the Browns knew that the possibility of getting a really good package from the Rams, including Jared Verse, was at least on the table. So it took a couple weeks from that point to consummate the deal. And I think they were still buttoning it up in the last few days. But these things never happen in a vacuum. They don't happen all that suddenly. It's talks over time. Things are quiet and then they heat up. Sometimes you can do these deals in 3 months. Sometimes you can do them in 5 minutes. I think the Bengals deal with Dexter Lawrence, funny enough, was pretty quick.
Yeah.
Because once they were willing to give up that first round pick that was so high in the top half of the first, it was a no-brainer for the Giants. And it was right before the draft, so it created urgency. So that one was quicker. This one took some time.
Yeah, not surprised that it took some time. Is from a league perspective, obviously Jared Verse is a heck of a player. 14 sacks in 2 years, former first rounder, was really productive for the Rams. No one is more excited than Joe Burrow and the Bengals, Zach Taylor and the Bengals, anyone on that offensive side, to see Myles Garrett leave the division and not have to deal with him this year, unless it would be in the Super Bowl against the Rams. So how is this viewed like a win-win on both sides? Because getting Myles Garrett is always the right answer if you're the Rams and a contending team. I don't think that there's a wrong or too much to give up when it comes to getting a guy like that. At the same time, Jared Verse, 3 picks, including a first rounder next year in a draft that everyone seems to love. Like, it was a lot to give up to get 95.
For sure. And, the Browns used blueprints of other trades. Max Crosby garnered 2 first-round picks before the Ravens trade fell apart. You had some other player, Micah Parsons, 2 first-round picks and a player, Kenny Clark. So, the Browns really got more than that in total value if you consider Jared Verse as a first-round pick, playing like a first-round pick. You could argue he's better than just an outright first in the future because of what you can do with him. He's on a rookie contract. Now he's got to get his sack numbers up and prove he can be a closer, but pressure rate, wrecking havoc, all that stuff he does. And then you get the first and 27, and then you get the second and third round picks in the future. That could equate to a first. So it's really like they got 3 first-round picks if you look at it that way. So I look at it as kind of a pretty much a stand-up double. You'd like to see one more first in there for the future to just get somebody young. But overall, the Browns did pretty well. And this is now – Cleveland's sneaky now in the AFC North just because, we don't know what they're going to get at the quarterback position. And we don't know what Deshaun Watson can do. If he's going to be 80%, 100% health-wise. Can he be a shell of himself in Houston? Maybe. But the roster is going to be pretty good now. This is not it's a team still in a rebuild, but not a tanking team. I think they're in a different spot. And there's a lot of talent there. And you add Jared Verse to the mix and a ton of first-round picks in the future. I think they're going to be pretty good. And they got some weapons on offense, too. So I don't have them winning the AFC North, but I got them being respectable and better than people think in that way.
So much of the conversation as soon as Myles Garrett got traded was a potential return of Aaron Donald to that Los Angeles Rams defense. Yeah. Is that a legitimate conversation at this point that Donald could be on that Rams defensive line this season?
The Rams expect that that's something he'll consider. Sean McVay's been in touch with Aaron Donald, but I don't think that's specific to playing right now. They talk pretty often, is my understanding. So it's a possibility. It's something that the Rams have wrapped their mind around, but they're not pressing. So I could see it being a situation where he comes in, parachutes in mid-season, late season, kind of like a sniper, comes in and helps them close some games in the playoffs. I don't know that Aaron Donald at this point needs to play a full season, but he is also a principled individual who likes to put in the work, and maybe he would want to do that and go through training camp. I just don't know. I could see it taking some time, and he keeps himself in phenomenal shape. Maybe week 8, he says, hey, I'm going to come jump in here. But it sounds like it feels like the stage is set for this. But he's got to want to do it. So we'll see how he's feeling here in the coming weeks and months.
Yeah, I mentioned how excited the Bengals were. Without even asking, I knew they were excited for Myles Garrett to leave the division. But this idea of having at any point to deal with Myles Garrett and then the guy who ended their chances in Super Bowl 56, Aaron Donald, that's what nightmares are made of for opposing quarterbacks. So wouldn't shock me at all. That's the nightmare scenario, but it also makes sense for the Rams to do that. Last one for you, Jeremy, and Jeremy Fowler of ESPN joining us. Will the Bengals add a linebacker? Have you heard anything linebacker-wise, free agent-wise, of them being interested, or are they just really comfortable with Demetrius Knight, Barrett Carter, and what they have in that room?
I could see them adding. This is a time of year that's tricky. There's not a lot of free agency movement because it's in May and June, you kind of want to see what your young guys can do, see what you have, and then if you realize, oh wow, these guys can't play, then you go sign somebody. Or if you say, oh, we might have something there, like the Chiefs are a good example. They could use some receiver help, I would say. But you got a young guy like Jalen Royals who looks pretty good. It's like, okay, well maybe we can roll with this, or at least go into camp and see what we have. So I could see Cincinnati adding a linebacker. I mean, hey, Jermaine Pratt's still out there. He was a good player for them. I could see him going back to the Colts where he was with Lou Anarumo and those guys, or maybe Cincinnati wants to entertain that. I know it didn't end the best, so maybe that's not the best route. You got Matt Milano still out there.
Yeah.
The problem with the linebackers is it's a lot of aging players. So I think the teams that want to make a big time upgrade would look at a trade, and there aren't teams really eager to give up like a Jordan Brooks in Miami. Unless you're giving up major capital. So for the Bengals' taste, especially with giving up the first for Dexter Lawrence, I don't know that they would make another big swing for a trade right now. So we'll see, but it depends on your level of desperation. So we'll see how they feel coming out of minicamp. And it wouldn't shock me, certainly, but nothing's on my radar right now for that.
Yeah, I heard Jordan Brooks like a 2 is what the Dolphins were thinking for him, which is it's a lot for a 29-year-old. Like even if it's, I'm not sure what it is, but it does sound like the asking price is pretty high.
Yeah, I think so. That's my understanding. Or maybe it's like a player-for-player swap if Miami likes a young player on a roster somewhere who's kind of an ascending star. I could see that too. So either way, it's going to take a lot to get him because he's kind of one of their pillars now, even though he's older and plays a position that's not a premium position. He's a really good player. So, yeah, Jordan Brooks, Patrick Queen in Pittsburgh has been implicated in some trades, although that wouldn't be an option for Cincinnati, I wouldn't think, because it's in division.
Yeah.
There's some other guys out there, but it's not a deep pool at linebacker, especially when you get into older players. That's a position that ages quickly or can age quickly if you need somebody to cover in the passing game and cover a lot of ground.
Yeah.
It can be tough, but there are some options that will develop.
He's Jeremy Fowler of ESPN. Follow him on X, J Fowler ESPN. Obviously, catch him on ESPN all day, every day for NFL updates. Jeremy, you're the man. I appreciate you coming on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you having me.
Thanks. Really good stuff there, and awesome to talk about linebacker. We'll react to that interview. Talk some Bengals next, right here on First Word.
Hi, my name is Natalie Jones, just your typical 40-year-old Cincinnati girl. Although, no, I'm not married or divorced. I don't have any kids, and I don't live in the neighborhood I grew up in, which is the West Side, by the way. But what I do have is a lot of freaking time, and I've been using it well. So come along with me on this grand adventure, because I've been trying all the new around town that you need to know about. This is Nat Tries That.
It's time for another Tissot's Take here on First Word. The Reds can't compete at the top of the free agent market in the offseason, but where they can find success and did this year was in the bargain bin. Adding J.J. Bleday, a cast-off former top 5 pick who had never reached that potential so far in his MLB career, and Nathaniel Lowe, a 30-plus-year-old first baseman who's been on the downturn the last couple of years. Lowe, a former Gold Glove winner in 2023 with the World Series champion Texas Rangers, and Bleday, a former Golden Spikes winner, the college baseball Heisman at Vanderbilt in his college years. Both hadn't played their best baseball over the last few years, but are so far this year with the Reds. Lowe is giving a solid option at first base opposite Sal Stewart, while also destroying right-handed pitching in the batter's box. One of the Reds' best bats against right-handed pitchers so far this year. And Bleday, what a surprise he has been in the outfield. One of the best outfielders in baseball. Thanks for watching First Word. We'll be with you till 11.
I'm James Rapien, and this is your First Word Bengals Minute. It's no secret that my expectations for Joe Burrow are high. Well, part of that is because my expectations for Jamar Chase and T. Higgins just as high. This is the best wide receiver duo in the NFL right now. And don't look now, but they easily could go down as the best duo in Bengals history. And I think about what their stats could look like this year. Is 3,000 combined receiving yards out of the question? It shouldn't be. I think that's a realistic number. I think 30 touchdowns combined is also a realistic number. And that's the beauty of having Joe Burrow with Jamar Chase, with T. Higgins. You're going to be feared Owen, with the new and improved defense, the Bengals should have the ball more. They should be able to take shots downfield more, which should lead to more opportunities for Jamar Chase and T. Higgins to continue to be the best wide receiver duo in the NFL. For more, make sure you check out First Word every weekday, 7 to 11, right here on The Crown. My name is James Rapien, and I host First Word every weekday morning, 7 to 11, right here on The Crown. Prior to joining The Crown Network, I covered the Bengals for Sports Illustrated for 6 seasons. I also am the founder of Cincinnati Bengals Talk on YouTube and wrote the book, Enter the Jungle, a history of the Cincinnati Bengals. Couldn't be more excited to join you every weekday morning for First Word right here on The Crown. Open those mics. Welcome back to First Word. I'm James Rapien. He's Jacob Tissot. And if you're just joining us, well, what have you been doing for the past 2 hours and 22 minutes since we've been on at 7 a.m.? But the other thing is, we've had Brian Giesenslaw in studio, 8:30 to 9. We had Jeremy Fowler on a second ago. We're going to react to that in just a second. ESPN NFL Insider. Really good stuff on the Myles Garrett trade, on Dexter Lawrence, how the Bengals are viewed nationally. Welcome to Cincinnati's only morning sports show. Hopefully you were able to catch those, but if not, you'll be able to catch them on our YouTube page later this afternoon. Follow at First Word Cincy. Over 4,000 subscribers. It's our 4th day. 1,000 a day. I like that. Let's keep that pace.
Love it. You love it. Let's not drop off. And thank you to you guys for going over to the YouTube, hitting subscribe, being in the live chat. It's great to hear what you guys have to think about everything we're saying today. So go join the conversation if you're watching on The Rock.
Yeah, for sure. And there are a bunch of people in there now watching, reacting, and it is time to react to Jeremy Fowler. A couple of things there. One, and I told you this off air, but the Jordan Brooks speculation, Jordan Brooks trade. I don't think it's happening because the Bengals aren't going to give up some, would they trade
ascending young star Chris Jenkins?
Well, sure.
That'd be great.
Chris Jenkins in a 5, sure. Yeah. I'm sure they would do that. But if the Dolphins really want a 2, and that's what I was told, a 2, and this was not on air, it was off, and I threw it out to Jeremy, and he was like, yeah, well, maybe a 2 or maybe a player. That's it. What player would you be? Like Chris Jenkins, fine. He's entering year 3. You would do that. Would you do Andre Yosevich?
For Jordan, yeah,
maybe. But the Dolphins probably don't do that, right? And so, what bar do you get to? Are you doing Dax Hill?
No.
Well, sure, but if I'm the Dolphins, that's who I want. I want Dax Hill.
Yeah.
I want DJ Turner. Would you do Jordan Battle?
No.
But you maybe think about it.
But you think about it a little bit, maybe.
Would the Dolphins do that? Finding the right mix.
Yeah.
Where if you're the Bengals, you're not giving up serious draft capital for a 29-year-old linebacker that has 1 year left on his deal and needs a new contract, or an ascending young player that you just think is going to be good. You giving up Myles Murphy for Jordan Brooks?
No. And that's what the Bengals are missing right now is that middle tier of tradable players almost. You have the Dexter Lawrences, the DJ Turners. I'll even throw Dax Hill in that group of players that you really, really believe in being the cornerstones of this defense. Then you have a lot of young guys that, sure, a lot of people, and me included, believe in them taking the step this year and being a much more productive player on part of this defense. But Myles Murphy doesn't have that kind of value or anything like that. And the value could be lost by trading him now before the season that you think he can break out in. So I think a lot of the conversation around this Bengals team is just you have so many guys that you need to progress. And then so many of the guys that are already here that are good aren't people you're willing to trade because they're the cornerstones of your defense.
Yeah, I think that's where it's tough. And then he mentioned the older element here. And like Bobby Wagner, Everyone loves Bobby Wagner.
Yeah.
Everyone wants Bobby Wagner. Are the Bengals going to sign a linebacker that can't cover?
Right. And what does that really
that's what
do
he
for
said.
the room?
That's what he said.
Yeah.
I mean, he mentioned Jermaine Pratt before mentioning Bobby Wagner. You know, and by the way, from a football perspective, strictly football, I wouldn't be against Jermaine Pratt. I think he elevates the floor of that room. The problem is he's been here for a long time. There are feelings and emotions, and it's not just, hey, straight football. And you have these two linebackers that you're trying to prop up and get the most out of. And so I don't think culture-wise, just 50,000-foot view, I don't think that makes a lot of sense. Not just because it ended poorly, but because the last 2 years of his contract, it just didn't feel like he fit what they were doing. Now, Lou Anarumo clearly loved him, brought him in last year. But even with that said, unless Knight and Carter are so bad, I don't see that being an option. So it's interesting that, like, this may be what they have at linebacker. And I know they wanted to address linebacker early in the offseason, but this might just be the reality. It might be time for us to wrap our heads around Demetrius Knight, Barrett Carter, Oren Burks. That is your trio.
My head's been wrapping around it for a couple weeks now. I think it's been a tough pill to swallow, but as the offseason continues to progress, that reality is just setting in that these are going to be the linebackers to start the season, at least more likely than not at this point. And I think the thing that I've really held on to throughout the last few weeks when I've been thinking about this is that hopefully the Bengals' big swings and out-of-character additions to almost every single other position group on the defensive side of the ball can be enough to surround those two young linebackers with the talent that it takes to take a little bit off their plate. And you could expect a progression in year two. I think everyone does. And then the question is just how much of that progression can there be for Knight and Carter? And if they can get better themselves, obviously that's great. But when you have a defensive line with Dexter Lawrence, when you have Brian Cook behind you, when you have Dax Hill and DJ Turner as the outside corners for a full season on the outside guarding those receivers, it's going to take a lot off the two young linebackers' plates, and they're going to have, obviously the snaps under their belt from last year, but also a much easier time on the defense. So I think that there is a chance that the other additions can kind of be counted in the middle of this season as a linebacker room addition in a way, but certainly was not the expectation to be sitting here the first week of June talking about the Bengals not adding to the lower linebacker room.
No, if you would have told me that in January, I would have been like, come on. They're going
I don't think I would have thought of a path where they couldn't have added to the linebacker room, and I feel really good about their offseason. Somehow they got there.
Because they traded the tech.
Exactly.
I mean, it changes everything. If they don't make that Dexter trade, we're like, what are you doing at linebacker? How did you get out of the first couple of rounds and not take a linebacker? And it wouldn't have been at pick 10, but it would have certainly been at pick 41. And if not, then it would have been real rough because you don't have that star in the middle of your defense that you're banking on in Dexter Lawrence. And so we'll post that entire interview that we had with Jeremy Fowler. We will on our YouTube page. So again, make sure you check us out on YouTube. Make sure you check us out on X at First Word Cincy. We are live right now until 11 o'clock. And coming up in 30 minutes, Joe Daneman of Fox 19 live in studio. Cincinnati's only morning sports show is live with you till 11. We'll be back with you in just a few minutes here on First Word. Cincinnati sports fans are the best. Loyal, passionate, second to none. This city lives and breathes sports, and now it finally has a morning show to match. I'm James Rapien, and this is First Word, the only morning sports show in Cincinnati and the place where every day starts. We break down the biggest moments and set the agenda for the city. Marisa Contipelli and Jacob Tissot join me to bring the insight and energy you need to start your day. The conversation starts with First Word. First Word, weekdays 7 to 11, part of the Crown Network. I'm James Rapien, and this is your First Word Bengals Minute. It's no secret that Dexter Lawrence is going to have a major impact on the Bengals defense. Anytime you add a gigantic nose tackle that can get after the passer, guess what? Those are hard to find. Those are rare. He's also going to make life easier on Jonathan Allen, who was a key free agent addition in March. And that's what's interesting. Jonathan Allen is a former Pro Bowler. He was a former first-round pick. He's someone that still can bring the juice and put pressure on opposing quarterbacks. And the idea of him alongside B.J. Hill was one thing.
The idea of him one-on-one because Dexter Lawrence is clogging up the interior and commanding double teams, well, that's a whole nother thing. That changes this Bengals defense, and it gives Jonathan Allen a chance to get back to where he was a few years ago when he was wrecking quarterbacks, racking up sacks, and one of the best interior defenders in the game. For more, make sure you check us out. First Word every single weekday, 7 to 11, right here on The Crown.
I'm Paul Fritchner. I'm a 2019 graduate of Xavier University, and I've been covering college basketball for 10 years here in the Cincinnati area. I'm the host of the Rebound Rundown, a daily college basketball podcast during the season and a weekly show in the off-season covering everything you need to know about your favorite team. And if you're not a fan of a team here in Cincinnati, I have you covered from the national perspective as well. Follow it on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back to another Tissot's Take, and the Reds might just have the best starting rotation in all of Major League Baseball when everyone gets healthy. Chase Burns, so far in his first full season with the big league club, is pitching like an ace, a legitimate Cy Young contender early in his young career, and Hunter Green just waiting in the wings on the IL to be activated at some point this summer. The Reds might join a short list of Major League Baseball teams with multiple aces in the rotation when Green gets back to form. We know he's a perennial Cy Young contender in the National League, and Chase Burns looks like it too. Not even mentioning James Rapien's boy, the number 3 starter in this rotation, All-Star Abbott. An All-Star last year has put together a phenomenal month of May, one of the best pitchers in baseball in the month of May, and that continues throughout the summer. This Reds top 3 is as good as any in baseball. Nick Lodolo sliding in at the 4, Rhett Lauder, the former 7th overall pick, at the 5, not even mentioning Singer Williamson and Petty. You're watching First Word on the Crown Network.
Launch week, don't blink. But welcome back to First Word. I'm James Rapien alongside Marisa Contipelli and Jacob Tissot. We are your morning sports show, Cincinnati, every single weekday, 7 to 11, right here on The Crown. And that's 7 to 11. It means we're always open. What?
You said don't blink, so I just started blinking a lot, and
did
it made
you?
my eyes water.
Didn't notice at all. Didn't even feel you. Didn't even know. Yeah, don't blink.
It made my eye water.
You killed my 7 to 11 always open thing.
But we're 7 to 11 always open.
Always open, like Jamar. I wonder if Jamar is coming up here on the countdown. It is time for Contipelli's Countdown.
Don't blink because you might miss Jamar on the countdown right here. But of course, Jamar is always open. So for today's countdown, we are taking the approach of not the top 5 catches by Jamar Chase, but the top 5 plays. And we're going to kick it off with the 49ers scramble drill by Burrow, finding Jamar Chase there in the back of the end zone. I mean, that Joe to Jamar Chase connection was so relevant his rookie season back in 2021.
This was so this play is when they became the best duo in the NFL. And they've been the best duo in the NFL ever since. This was one they had outplayed the whole game, and Joe and Jamar said, we're going to try to not only make this a game, but give the Bengals a chance to win it. And my goodness, did they almost do it here. What a play, what a throw by Joe, what a read, and a heck of an adjustment in the footwork by Jamar.
Yeah, and the communication doesn't even really make sense to me, how they know exactly what the other wants and where to go on the field and where the holes in the zone will be. Jamar Chase evades 5 or 6 Niners defenders working around the back of the end zone. It's an unbelievable play, and I think this was kind of the, not first, but one of the big things. It was like, well, can this be one of the best duos of all time? And they've turned into something pretty close.
Yeah, they have. And the toe body control to get he got like 5 feet down.
That's the most impressive part to me is just that footwork, like the tightrope right here when he's back in the end zone. I mean,
I
just
thought that foot was out. 2, 3, 4, 4 down.
Something special. But no, this was really, this game and this moment was kind of what, really put it on the map for me of like, oh, these guys aren't just in sync. They have a chemistry unlike anyone else that I've seen.
And it was a loss. They lose this game. And we're like, how good are they really? And Joe and Jamar turns out really, really good.
Well, a game that they did win just a few weeks later in week 17 of 2021 is this one right here against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Jamar's so slow.
Oh, I mean, I love the shot of there being like 5 Chief defenders right behind him, unable to catch up to him. But I mean, Jamar in this game, 3 touchdowns, 266 yards, just put on an incredible performance. But that, hands down, my favorite touchdown of the night.
I mean, what are we doing?
Yeah.
How do you score on a play like that? I remember watching this one live, and I thought he was tackled 3 different times, and I'm just not familiar with what Jamar Chase is yet. Because if I saw this play this year, it would have been a touchdown the whole time in my mind. The speed is insane. The breakaway is ridiculous, and not the only time in his career he did something like this, which just goes to show you how special he is.
In the moment, it matters a ton. They're down 14-0. AFC North on the line. They're this upstart Bengals team. Are they good? Are they not? Are they really going to win the division after winning 4 games the year prior and Burrow coming off the ACL? And Jamar Chase said, hey, Kansas City, get a new secondary. And they did. They had to get a new secondary, including Brian Cook and Trent McDuffie and all the guys that they got. And it's because Jamar Chase, track star wide receiver, this is one of the best plays of Jamar Chase's career.
I think it was this game that really kind of put the NFL world on notice that like Jamar not only has the opportunity and potential to be one of the best, but this kind of really solidified it for everyone. The fact that he put up over 260 yards and had 3 touchdowns against the team to beat in the NFL.
Absolutely, and I think that's certainly a big part of it. Those numbers against anybody certainly will be respected and talked about a lot, but when you do it against the Chiefs, when you're the team that's not supposed to be there, that's when everyone really starts to take notice.
Well, we have to do one more play from Jamar's rookie season, so why not his very first moment as a Bengal? Game 1 of his rookie campaign in 2021, and we got to see Burrow air it out to Jamar Chase, and then him hitting the gritty in the end zone. This was just such a special moment to be a part of, and just the start of something really special in Cincinnati.
It was huge. Joe Burrow started 11 of 13, his first game back from the ACL, the touchdown there after the game in one of their lone week 1 wins in this Joe Burrow, Zach Taylor era. He says, I thought Jamar was dropping everything before answering any questions. And so putting away that narrative, but honestly, when I was in the press box, I was thinking, I knew I was right about Jamar Chase. I knew he was better than Penei Sewell. I knew he should have been the 5th pick. I told you. And obviously, multiple touchdowns followed that throughout the year. But heck of a play, heck of a moment that was foreshadowing a lot of what was to come as Jamar Chase, and for Jamar Chase as a rookie.
As soon as that card was turned in at pick 5 in the draft, I think everyone in Cincinnati was just kind of hoping, okay, the LSU connection is just moving on up here. And didn't have to wait long. So the first half of week 1, they take the deep shot, and Jamar Chase slides right into the wide receiver one roll here in Cincinnati, and hasn't looked back since. It was, I said the last one was almost like the introduction, because this was the introduction. The first game, first half, and they take the top off.
That's one of those plays where it just lives rent-free in my brain. But this next one, guys, I struggled putting this on here. It is absolutely one of his best games individually as a Bengal, with, of course, going for over 260 yards against the Ravens. And this touchdown with 38 seconds left in the game to bring it to a 1-point game. It was just a tough outcome with them then. They're not getting the 2-point conversion, but just another phenomenal performance by Jamar Chase, with this being his 3rd touchdown of the night.
This was one of the best throws of Joe Burrow's career. He threads it between there are 3 different Ravens that could have disrupted this ball. You could argue that it should have been picked, didn't happen, and just the desire and willingness to throw it and then to get it where it needs to be. Jamar makes the play, and this is another one, like the Kansas City one. Jamar willed the Bengals back in this game. Baltimore had all the momentum early in the 4th quarter, and it's 21-14. Or 28-21, excuse me. and Jamar says, "Oh, I'm going to go deep." And he scored a touchdown before that. Obviously, the Ravens went down and scored, and the Bengals answer with another touchdown to Jamar. They should have won this game. It's rough that a couple of these have been in losses. Obviously, this is one of them.
Yeah, I completely agree. One of the best throws of Burrow's career. When you get down and you gotta have it space like that so late in the game, down a touchdown, where else do you go? You gotta go to Jamar, and that's why he's confident to make those throws, because of the first 3 plays in this countdown we saw. This is what Jamar Chase does in the big time moments.
What I love so far too about this countdown is we've seen, clutch moments like this from Jamar. We've seen him, outrun defenders. We've seen him catch the long ball. He's just such a threat, and it's just been so fun to watch. And the next one on the countdown that we have to end with on number 1, we're going back to the game against the Chiefs. Well, not back to that game against the Chiefs, but against the Chiefs here in the AFC Championship. And no, it is not a touchdown, but rather a critical key 4th down conversion where Jamar just goes up over to Chiefs their defenders, comes away with a huge conversion. I mean, this was a momentum swing in that game.
Jamar down there somewhere.
Yes, that was the logic. Watson and Cook in coverage. Obviously, Brian Cook, a rookie at the time. Now he's on the Bengals, became a really good player. But, I mean, how do you, if you're Joe, it's 4th down. If you don't get this, Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs are going to take a 2-score lead. You know that. I love going for it by Zach, but that is the lowest percentage possible of a play that you can go with. And it worked. This was part of the special. When we talk about going back and getting back to 21 and 22, these are the special plays and moments that we saw. And the one thing that's really alarming to me, guys, is are 3 of the 5 of these Jamar plays and losses?
They sure are.
I know.
Pain. That needs to change this year because they're too darn good at football for these plays to be coming in losses for the Bengals.
Yeah, obviously the catch is insane through 2 Chiefs defenders, but just the fact to be running full speed down the sideline, put your foot in the ground, stop, change direction, and basically without going downfield at all, and jump up and make that play above Brian Cook's helmet is just absolutely ridiculous. Again, for I think the 5th time today, Jamar Chase doing something I'm not sure anyone else can do.
No, he's truly one of one. And again, to the point of, he's just so versatile, and it's just different ways he's impacting this game, and just the chemistry with Burrow is just absolutely insane to see at times, and it makes me excited for this season of what other plays we're going to be adding and maybe swapping out with some of these 5.
I think the thing about Jamar Chase, and we saw it through these 5 plays that just blows me away, is we have plays in the slot, plays on the outside, plays against corners, plays against safeties, 1st downs, 4th downs, deep balls, red zone. He does it all at an elite level. There's no shortcomings.
And the Jamar that we saw on that last clip isn't as good as the Jamar that the Bengals have today.
It's wild. A lot in store for Jamar Chase and his future here in Cincinnati, and a lot in store for us too here on First Word, because we have plenty of more to get to on the show today. We are with you all the way until 11 o'clock here on The Crown.
Down the field, and look at the catch! Leaping into the air and coming down with it in double coverage is Jamar Chase on 4th and 6 for 35 yards.
This is 4th down. You got to throw it up, but it's perfect because it's the right kind. Watch this. They're going to come out and double. You're doubling Chase. They give it an in and up like a dig and then a go. And right there, that was set up in the timeout. Those are some stones right there to come out and do that. But they did throw to their best player.
Hi, my name is Natalie Jones, and I'm the May Queen here at Braxton's May Fest. This is the 3rd year in a row I've been the May Queen, and actually the 3rd year since they brought it back after maybe a decade hiatus. What Mayfest is, it's pretty much the Oktoberfest of the springtime, to put it in layman's terms. So Mayfest opens the summer season, and Oktoberfest ends the summer season. So here we are, just Bavarian stuff all day long. I already had a beer and a pretzel. I'm about to get a sausage. So I started making flower crowns, I think like 10 years ago for fun, maybe for the Kentucky Derby, and now I make them all the time. I made this one. Me and my bestie made it. I change it every year. I expand on it or change it every year, the colors. What colors do you think I should put on my baton here I'm gonna make? Excellent. I was thinking the same exact thing. When do you feel the most beautiful?
Tomorrow.
Huh? Tomorrow? Did you yesterday? No? Well, I think you're gorgeous. Even without the crown. You're always beautiful in my eyes. A raspberry cake?
I kind of liked it. I
Kinda. Did your dad like it?
He didn't eat any.
You didn't eat any of it?
Because I gave
No
him
carbs,
a
huh? He's in a low carb diet. What I like to do is take the flower like this and wrap it around the main vine. Okay? There you go. You're welcome. I'm not gonna lie, as someone who got a D in art class when I was a kid, turned out all right. High five, girlfriend. It matches all the colors in your dress. Hopefully we do this every year at Mayfest because you can never queen enough, I tell you what. All righty, everybody say queen. All right, girls, are we ready for this? Yeah. All right, let's go.
Another rebound rundown, local update, and a huge one here for the Louisville Cardinals, who have spent a ton of money in the transfer portal. They have poured a ton of resources, and this is expected to be a national championship contender, or at least a Final Four contender. It better be with what they have done to assemble this roster. Let's take a look at it now. A coup of players out of the portal. Two of the portal's best, and Flory Badunga, the transfer from Kansas, and Jackson Shellstead, the point guard transfer from Oregon. You add that, somebody you've heard on the rundown before, Deshane Montgomery from Dayton, Alvaro Figueres, a high major transfer as well, Carter Knox, Gabe Dines, all names that if you are a college basketball fan, you are familiar with, plus Okeze, who is one of the best high school players, if not the best, depending on where you look, for high school rankings, best high school recruits in the history of the Louisville program. A lot to be excited about, a lot of expectations for the Louisville Cardinals. You can hear about that more right here on the Rebound Rundown.
We'll do it live every single weekday, 7 to 11, right here on First Word. We'll do it live, Jacob Tissot.
We'll do it live.
We'll do it live. I'm James Rapien. Joe Danneman of Fox 19 going to join us live in tick, 12 minutes. We're going to talk Reds. We're going to talk Bengals. You know what else we're going to talk? About the New York Knicks and what they did to your Spurs.
Yeah.
One down.
One down.
One down. I don't know which side he's on. And so that's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Because he may want to strangle me because I'm rooting for the Knicks. Maybe not. I don't know. But I'm excited that the Knicks got it done. But it is time to dive into our poll question of the day. A poll question that I think a lot of Reds fans are, one, going to be interested in, two, a question that a lot of you are going to be asking over the next month plus. And it's pretty simple. Nick Kroll said this earlier this week, courtesy of Mark Sheldon. If we can keep our heads above water, we have a shot to hang in there. You're going to have to take some more time before we can figure out exactly who we are. The Reds 31-30 on the season following yesterday's loss to the Royals. They dropped 2 of 3 to Kansas City. 64.5% of you say no, they're going to stand pat. They're not going to be buyers at the deadline. 23% say, they're going to be sellers. And the rest say, yeah, they're going to buy. Jacob, make your prediction now. Buyers, sellers, staying pat.
The least fun option of all, staying pat, would be my prediction. I just don't think the Reds will get to any point where you can confidently say that the season is over or that they're in contention before the trade deadline. And if I had to pick one, I would say that they would probably lean closer to sellers, just with how the injuries have rolled out so far this season. The Reds have a lot they're going to have to overcome in the next couple months if they want to get anywhere close to even having the conversation about being buyers at the trade deadline. But when it comes to selling, I don't really know what pieces the Reds have to sell, so I don't think that's as much of an option as staying pat. But the Reds would have to really surprise me in terms of stringing together a lot of wins or fall off the face of the earth like they did in the month of April if they want to, or May, sorry, if they want to have a concrete place to land at the trade deadline.
Yeah, I think that's a huge factor. Sam, by the way, can you grab Joe Daneman? He's in the lobby. Yes, look at that. Joe Daneman here. Yeah, I see I'm in the lobby. Joe D is here, and he'll be live with us on
You might have to thank
Thank you,
Sam
Sam.
today. Yeah.
No, I do. Sam's the man.
That's big time.
Gabe called him Doorman Sam. Now, I would never do that. I would never say Doorman
But
Sam.
you'll just throw Gabe under the bus for it.
One, that's for sure what I would do. Secondly, Sam's what makes us look good in a lot of these awesome videos and intros and outros and things that, so I'm going to give Sam his due right now. Hopefully he can hear that.
Well, you just sent him to the lobby, so he can't.
Yeah, he can. Usually you can. What do you mean? Let's dive into some of these responses here as we wait on Sam the Doorman. Gabe's words, not mine. Some of these responses here to our poll question. And let's start with Cincy_B. My prediction is that there won't be a deal that makes sense. The Reds' best currency, I think, is their pitching, and we've seen how quickly the staff can be derailed by injuries. I don't see them trading any of those guys. I get that. I understand that logic, and I do wonder, because if they are going to take from a surplus, the only surplus would be the starting rotation if it's healthy. It's not even a surplus right now, and so could you even go that route?
And I think that's the thing that's so frustrating is, sure, we talk about the pitchers when everyone's healthy that could be in this Reds rotation, and you have 2, 3, sometimes even 4 extras, depending on how many you want to throw in that conversation. But what we've seen this year with all the injuries so far, you need almost every single one of those arms. The Reds don't have the luxury of moving those with the questions on the young guys and also the injury concerns.
Al Wonder says, can't trust Carl to be a buyer anyway. Saddled the organization with a defensive-only anchor. What will he do this year? Look, man. The Brian Hayes, it's so bad. I don't think anyone could have predicted it would be this bad,
It might not have been the worst trade last year.
What?
Mike Sirota for Gavin Lux is an insane trade.
It doesn't feel great.
He's a top 30 prospect in baseball.
That one doesn't feel great either.
Gavin Lux is in Tampa.
Yeah. No, in just a guy.
Right.
Like he's a
less than a guy.
Well, but just a guy. But he was on the Dodgers, and he's a 2-time World Series champion, and he's going to give you. It's tough because at the time I was like, oh well, he's not just a guy. He's got the rings. Gavin Lux, World Series champ from the Dodgers, coming in here helping the Reds get. That's what's tough, and so. In hindsight, the Brian Hayes trade is awful.
Oh, it was. The worst part is it's not necessarily that much hindsight.
In the moment, it didn't feel good. Yeah. I saw the vision was, we think that his back is fine. We think his hitting is going to come around, and he's going to be elite day one at third. Like, that was the line of thinking. Obviously, the bat hasn't followed, and he's on the injured list. So, I get that. I also think this about trades in general. Everyone still brings up, 9 years ago, I stood on the table for John Ross 10th overall, and I still get that almost every day and every other day. And I should, because I shouted from the mountaintops about it. And so I'll always be referenced with that. But it doesn't mean you stop picking. If you have a bad trade, it doesn't mean you stop trading. And so I can't look at the trade deadline with, Nick Krall got it wrong last year, so I can't view it that way.
Yeah, I think that is fair to a degree, but at some point the faith in allowing him to go into maybe another rebuild, and if we're talking about selling, that's what it is. You're taking your foot off the gas and trying to sell a little bit here to rebuild the team. I don't know if I trust Nick Krall to rebuild this roster after he failed so badly the first time he tried to.
Fair, that's fair, and we have one more response. I get that. I don't think you can rebuild. I don't think that that's a realistic thing. Kevin Boatwright says, get away from the hang in there crap. Go spend money and take the division over. Yes. The answer is yes. The answer really, what's that guy in Philly that happens to be from Middletown?
Schwarber.
Yes.
Kyle Schwarber should be a Red. He was interested in the Reds, and you could have offered him more money, and then maybe he becomes a Red. His own teammate said how he thought he was going to become a Red. Like, that should have been the move, is paying Schwarber, doing everything else that you did. Also, Suarez, just to be clear. You do those things, and then you have a J.J. Bleday shine out of nowhere. Even without the injuries, the margin for error just feels much, much different. Because we had Brian Giesenthal on last hour, and we'll put this up on our YouTube channel, the First Word YouTube channel. The offense is a huge concern. The bullpen is the conversation, and all these things are the conversation. The hitting, the consistent hitting, especially with Ellie down, is a huge, huge concern. It's one of the many, many topics we are going to cover with Joe Danneman. Fox 19, he is here. Sam went to get him. We know he's in the building. Joe has landed. He will join us next, right here on First Word.
She is the founder and creator of the Dance Mix Foundation. This is the first inaugural Kids Dance Day. Tell us what you've done.
So we've been in 9 schools over Greater Cincinnati that we have been teaching a dance to over the last 3 weeks. They've practiced and now they're coming together to perform and then see other arts experience. Cincinnati Ballet, Art Museum, Playhouse in the Park. So they're gonna have a great day.
Shoot. Let's go.
You stepped aside with a vibe I ain't never seen. Yes, you did.
This is so cool! This is so much fun!
It would break my heart, break my heart, break my heart if I find out you ain't You better show me now, show me now, show me now. Cause when I take it to the floor, you gotta get down. You know what to do. Hey, Mr. DJ.
Oh, you guys are doing a great job. Whoa! Why did you want to start this and do this?
Our mission is health, happiness, connection, but really about arts access as well and inclusion.
Nice job! Nice job! Hey! Hey, your shoelaces are untied. Your shoelaces are untied. You don't know how to tie it? Can I do them? All right, cool. All right, I'll teach you. What's your name? Tayden. Tayden, have you been having fun today? Yeah. Now he's good to go. That was making me so nervous. 1, 2, 3, dance miss! Great job today. Great job today.
This city has always had something to prove. While the rest of the country talked about us, we built our own voice. Blue collar, underdogs, built differently, overlooked, talked about like we were supposed to stay quiet. But that was never who we were, because this city doesn't wait for permission. And neither do we. And now, for the first time, Cincinnati has a network built in its image, because the biggest stories in this city deserve more than highlights. This isn't cable television. This isn't national media. This is ours. This is The Crown.
First word rolls on, and man, oh man, Sam found it. Joe Daneman of Fox 19 is here. How did Sam treat you when he found you in the lobby, or were you already found?
So I was found by Sam. I was 99% sure I was in the right spot. I have been here before, so I was trying to think of the old mental breadcrumbs that would lead me back to the studio.
Were you nervous you weren't in the right spot?
No, because I could see your show on a plasma screen and football jerseys, so I knew I was in the right spot. And we got it done. I'm here. I made it. I'm ready to fire off some takes.
Yeah, I love it. He's Jacob Tissot. I'm James Rapien, and Joe Daneman in for Marisa for the next half hour. Marisa on vacation during launch week.
What do you think of that?
I think it's hilarious. Purely circumstantial, but I'm just hyping it up.
He never misses an opportunity to let our audience know.
As someone who has worked in the TV business for 25 years and have gone at least more than half of those years without taking a vacation, I respect the grind. And I make fun of coworkers sometimes who take long vacations, like my coworker who recently took 2 weeks to Italy.
I think I know who
but
that
he's
was.
back.
Yeah.
And we're back at full strength. But no, people have to take vacations.
No doubt.
Give her a break.
It's just hilarious that it timed out the way it did.
I get it.
It's so funny because, haha, Marisa. Let's start with the Reds here. Tony Santion, rough. Track record's good. It's been bad. The bullpen was good on Tuesday. Felt like a potential game-changing comeback win for the Reds. Then they do what they did yesterday, and the bullpen's a big reason why they blow it. Or the reason why they blow it. What should we feel? How should we feel about this Reds team right now at 31-30?
I think you should look at them exactly what their record is, that it's going to be this up and down that kind of lands right in the middle, I think, by the end of the season. I had this team, and you think about a team last year that had 83 wins, right? Mm-hmm. And then they went out and changed the roster. They got better. There's nobody that would tell you at the beginning of the year that the Reds roster wasn't better than last year's 83-win team. And that's why we all thought, okay, back to the playoffs, perhaps winning the NL Central, perhaps flirting with, and I joked about the number of 90 wins, but I think we all thought somewhere around 86 to 88 wins.
Yeah.
I don't think this team is going to get there now. Not the way they're constructed. They have to make some changes, and they've started to make some changes, but I'm not sure what changes they can make and help this team within the organization. The bullpen is an absolute 5-alarm fire right now. There's no doubt about it. You have 3 guys you can rely on, and they're all left-handers. Mm-hmm. They don't have a single right-handed reliever right now that I would say you can turn to and feel good about that option going forward.
We're going to keep seeing Tony.
Right.
They have no choice. Yeah. What do you do if you're Terry Francona? Yep. Who do you go to? The problem is the Reds knew this before the year started. It was the same thing with Emilio Pagan. They knew they used Santillan and Pagan so much last year that they were going to ease them into the year throughout spring training and ease them into the year in April. And then by May, June, they'd be ready to go. Well, Emilio Pagan is not ready to go. He's on the injured list, and Tony Santillan looks like he has a dead arm. And this is a big problem for this team, and that's why it feels like this spinning wheel that Terry Francona turns every single night to find someone who can get outs as a right-handed pitcher in the Reds bullpen. The shame of it is they invested in fixing this and having a bullpen better in 2026. It just hasn't panned out.
No, not really at all so far through this year. And how much optimism is there around the Reds other than just waiting for everyone to get healthy? You just mentioned they're going to have to go to Tony as a right-handed arm in the bullpen. There aren't many options left to replace these guys.
I think sometimes people misconstrue what an explanation and an excuse. Mm-hmm. Because a big explanation to why the Reds are underperforming this year are the injuries.
Sure,
There's
absolutely.
no doubt about it. And people say, oh, that's just a crutch, that's an excuse. No, that's part of the explanation why this team is not playing well. And I think as fans and people who watch the game and people who talk about the game like we do, I think sometimes we take this pie and we try to slice it up and say, who does the big piece of pie of blame go to? And everybody wants to do Nick Kroll and the Reds front office at all. At what point does a big slice, and I mean a really big slice, have to go to players who have just underperformed? Because I think if we laid out, guys, the Reds' top 10 players, and everybody would have it a little bit different, but I think 8 or 9 of the Reds' top 10 players, we would all agree are pretty much the same on everybody's lists. I think at least half, if not more than half, have underperformed this year.
Or are hurt.
or hurt.
Yes.
Or both.
Yeah.
In some
I mean,
cases.
Green, Lodolo, there's 2.
Yep.
McLean has been awful.
Ellie currently hurt.
Tyler Stevenson.
But Ellie's the one that has performed.
Right, but now you don't have him in the lineup anymore.
TJ Friedel.
Yep.
I mean, that's your center fielder and leadoff hitter who's now in the minor leagues because he can't perform.
Right.
And so at some point, it's like, okay, Nick Krall made some mistakes. And you can point to the trades and the moves that he's made the mistakes on. No doubt about it. But Eugenio Suarez, it's funny how many people talk about all these players that are underperforming and haven't performed a level. And Eugenio Suarez has not been nearly worth the money that they invested in. He was the reason everybody in Cincinnati was like, okay, the Reds now are going to win the National League Central or at least compete for it. And he's been a guy, just another
He's not Kyle
placeholder.
Schwarber. I don't know why, but that was like
But
the
even
feeling.
if he had a bad year, you're like, oh, he's going to hit 30 bombs.
Yeah.
He's
Is
going
he?
to hit 35
Will
bombs.
he get 30?
No, he's going to hit. Right now, he's pacing to hit 18 to 20, and that's not the $15 million you spent. So at some point, you take all of these players that you expected to perform at level of last year or better, because there were so many young guys that say, okay, their career is ascending, they're going to get better. They're not performing. So blame Terry Francona and blame Nick Krall. Yes, everybody deserves some blame for the Reds not performing to expectation this year, but a big piece of that pie has to go on professional baseball players who are not performing at the level we expected.
Yeah, I get that, and I understand. And that's it's been so bad that J.J. Bleday has been this awesome, like, bright, shiny thing that Nick Krall could be like, hey, see, we found him. And it's not even close to enough.
But
it's
think
not
about-
even close.
Think about before the season, if someone would have told you that J.J. Bleday, Nathaniel Lowe, and Sal Stewart are on pace to hit more than 80 home runs combined.
And Chase Burns
is an all-star.
killing it.
You would say, oh my gosh, 90 wins, win the NL Central, 92 wins.
Yes.
And that goes back to everybody else that I talked about that was just underperforming. Again, you can find some bright spots. Ellie's been an all-star. Spencer Steer's hitting like near an all-star, at least a guy, if you're going to make an all-star team of versatile players, he would be on that team. So there are guys performing, just not enough. And the J.J. Bledays of the world, Nathaniel Lowe's of the world, the Chase Burns, the guys that you said, okay, maybe they can help raise the floor of this team. They've done their part. The problem is so many important parts of this team haven't done theirs.
How long is the leash on some of these guys who have been underperforming for multiple years at this point? James just mentioned Matt McLean and how rough it's been.
Yeah.
Last year, so much holding on to that shoulder surgery and potentially getting healthy this season. It's a lot more of the same this year.
You would hope it's a shorter leash. I just don't know where you go.
Exactly.
Is the problem, right? I don't want to use the phrase, where are you going to go?
You just did.
But who are you going to go?
Sounds like me.
Who are you going to go to?
Right.
I mean, give me the options you go to if you're going to start taking some of these guys off the field. And they've started doing that, TJ Friedel being a guy. And Terry Francona has often, and maybe rightfully so, been criticized for being too loyal, too patient, for too long. They've made a lot of changes, right, within this roster, within the lineup. And it's amazing that we're 60 games into this thing. And it feels like every single day he's still searching for the right combination to unlock whatever he can out of this team to get to its full potential. Now, I'll say something here, and it's a bit of a tangent, and I'm sure you guys have talked about it on this show, the number of times that we've now seen examples of why Ellie De La Cruz should bat first. Ellie De La Cruz and Spencer Steer should be 1-2 in this lineup, and then figure out 3, 4, 5. You got options, right?
Yeah.
You've got your Sal Stewarts, you got your J.J. Bledays, but this is now twice in the last week where Blake Dunn has come up in the 9th inning, batting leadoff with a chance to take the lead or tie the game, and both times he hasn't delivered. I know he's had some moments, and good on Blake Dunn for taking advantage of an
Yesterday,
opportunity.
I called him the best done in Reds history. So just
Not
so you know,
quite.
just so you know, obviously
He's taken advantage of some
it's a bit
opportunities.
exaggerated. Yes,
But he was also
But he's
trying
not
to,
Ellie De La
He was
Cruz.
trying to bunt.
Thank you.
He was
With 2
trying
outs
to
in the
bunt
9th
with
inning.
2 outs in the 9th inning as the tying run. If that's your leadoff guy, if that's Ellie De La Cruz, again, the simplest way to put together a baseball lineup is how often can I get my best bats a chance to hit?
Yep.
Think about the number of major league teams who take this theory and run with it and how good they are. Shohei, Kyle Schwarber, I'm O'Neal Cruz, not like O'Neal Cruz is in that realm of player, but there are guys who hit leadoff all over the major leagues who aren't prototypical leadoff hitters. Put Ellie 1, put Spencer Steer 2, put JJ Bleday 3, put Sal Stewart 4, and Yohanes Suarez 5, and then you've got a roster that in a lineup that maybe can be dangerous. But I know it's a tangent, but I think it's something to be talked about for a team trying to unlock anything it can do to help some struggling players.
And I know he's not your traditional leadoff hitter, but Ellie is a terror to deal with on the bases. Like, is everything and then some, assuming his hamstring is going to be fine when he comes back. That's what you want. You want that guy that could force a bad throw on a ground out or force take second at will if needed, if called upon, and that hasn't been the case as much. He hasn't been called upon as much to do that. Well, don't you want every leadoff guy to be able to do that? I get it. He has power and all those things. I know he's 6'4", he's not 5'11", and all the things that you would think of a leadoff guy. But he checks a lot of the boxes, and he's their best hitter and best player. Like, that's it. And so do you want your best player to have the most chances to win the game? Well, the answer is yes, always.
And the shame of the injury was, and it's been talked about, kind of a side eye watching the Reds a little bit this year. It's like, what's up with Ellie's speed?
Yes.
He was just starting to
I think he heard
cut it loose.
I think he heard that and was like, oh, you don't think I can?
Watch what I can do kind of thing. And
then
it felt like he was cutting it loose and then boom. And I think the other argument, too, I want to make on Ellie is, and, I joke about this, and anytime I have a chance or a forum to fire off some takes, is that the whole Ellie and rest thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to blame this on a lack of rest because the Reds had rainouts, the Reds had off days. He was getting the kind of time a guy like him needs to recover. But it shows you how important he is to this organization and this team. The fact that the Reds didn't feel comfortable for 276 straight games of taking him off the field. And that shows to me how top-heavy. And by the end of the year, if this thing does go sideways and the Reds don't make the playoffs and it's a bad year, we'll look back on it and we'll say, that was a very top-heavy roster. That even though the guys like J.J. Bleday and Nathaniel Lowe, filled in some cracks and had some moments, Blake Dunn had some moments, I think you're going to look back and say, okay, they had 4 or 5 really elite guys, but they were reliant on those guys. And if that's the case, if some of those guys get injured, it starts to look like it looks like right now without Hunter Green and Ellie De La Cruz.
Yeah, you mentioned the 276 games played streak for Ellie. He mentioned a lot how much it meant to play 162 last year. How does not experiencing life without Ellie since he came up affect the Reds now that he's on the injured list?
Yeah, it's again, you're just exposed. This is an exposed, vulnerable team right now that goes out there and doesn't have one of the best players in baseball. And it's a very simple thing in sports. Whether it's baseball, whether it's basketball, whether it's football, it is hard to win games without your good players.
Sure.
It's just the way it is. It sounds simplistic, but it's the truth. And we can make every excuse we want to make about why the Reds aren't playing well. Oh, Terry Francona, oh, Nick Krall, oh, the bullpen. The Reds right now are down Hunter Green and Ellie De La Cruz. Talk me off them being this organization's 2 most important players, 2 best players. I know Chase Burns is what he is. He's phenomenal. But if they're going to a game 1 right now of a playoff series, Hunter Green's still your guy. He is their guy.
I know that. He doesn't know that.
So you would say Chase Burns in a 1-game series. That's a different
conversation.
Debate. It's a conversation.
I hope we get to have it.
Sure.
I would love to have it.
But he's the guy.
Yeah,
he is their guy.
Yes.
And to me, you're looking right now at a team without its 2 best players. And it's going to look like this. And the organization is not equipped to be able to withstand being down 2 players like that. 2 all-stars. 2 all-star players in Cincinnati. This is what it's going to look like. It's going to look like a team right now trying to keep its head above water. And oh boy, I'm sure you've looked. The schedule in June is not doing them any favors.
No.
At all.
And that's why the first 7 days of May, you just completely burn everything you did in April. And we may just look at that 7 days and be like, that was it.
It might be.
As weird as it, because of everything else that transpired, and that stinks to be in that position, but they were 20-11, felt like they could have went 3-4 realistically on those 7, and they really haven't recovered. And part of that's injuries still. Since then, Rhett Lauder and Ellie De La Cruz both have been hurt. It's tough. Lauder will be back Sunday. What is he? Is Brady Singer ever going to sing?
Another guy that falls in that list. The most expensive player on the team.
And a guy that you thought would be Pac-Man, as in eat innings.
Yes.
Just eat innings, get you 6, give up 3.
Don't even worry about him.
That's it.
In 5 days, he gives you your 6, you get a quality start 65% of the time, and you keep on going through. You talked about those 7 days in May. Man, you can't lose series to the Kansas City Royals.
No.
You can't do it.
No.
And they just did it.
With Burns and Abbott.
You can't lose a game against the Kansas City Royals with Chase Burns on the mound.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happened last night. You lost a game with Chase Burns on the mound, and then you lost a series to the Kansas City Royals because of it.
Yeah.
Team 15 games under 500.
What's worse, that Royals loss or the Jets loss with the Bengals last year? The Jets loss with the Bengals. And that's my awkward segue into Bengals. Joe Daneman going to stick with us here on First Word. We're going to talk Bengals next, right here on The Crown.
Hi, my name is Natalie Jones, and today we're at the Acres here in Evendale, Ohio. It actually has been around for 70 years and was just redone in 2022. And I'm going to get a golf lesson from the one and only Brett Perchikoff. Brett, get on in here. Did I pronounce your name correctly?
No.
All right, well, you know what? I'm even worse at golf. I did take a golf lesson once when I was 20 years old. I haven't really golfed since that day. All right, so now we're going to take a look around the Acres and see just exactly where we are. There's so much fun stuff to do here.
It's really cool.
So what's great about the Acres is it's a whole family event. They have 16 bays inside, they're open year round, and 22 bays outside. And then you want to look over here, we have family fun putt-putt. I'm even worse at putt-putt, okay? First timer, so what do I need to know?
Okay, so kind of 3 things, 3 pillars. I like to call them posture, just like your stance to the ball, kind of your address, the grip of the club, how you grip it, and then your alignment, your aim.
Posture,
grip, and alignment.
Alignment.
PGA. PGA.
That's what the PGA means?
No, feet kind of shoulder width apart, maybe a little wider.
All right.
You want to bend out the hips a little bit.
Okay.
And just a good athletic stance. Next is the grip. Easiest way for beginners to learn is
Hold
like
on,
that.
do you do this?
I do that. Feet a little wider. The shoes are going to be tough, but
No, these
there you
are
go.
stable. You ready?
Good swing. A little shorter swing.
Swing and a miss.
Got it out there.
Down the first baseline, baby. I really am trying really hard.
There you go.
Look at that!
Dead straight.
You're a great teacher.
Dead straight.
Heck yeah!
Wow.
Jesus. Now, so here's the, want me to, yeah, you know, pretty much an expert here now.
Another rebound rundown update, this time for the Cincinnati Bearcats under first-year head coach Jared Calhoun coming over to Clifton from Utah State. And Jared Calhoun having to put together an entirely new roster this year for Cincinnati. Not a single returning player from last year's Bearcat team. Tylen Riley, the headline piece for this roster, a transfer in from Tulsa, the point guard of this group. Miles Colvin, a transfer from Wake Forest, somebody who has national championship game experience from his time at Purdue in that game against UConn. Tyler Tejada out of the CAA from Towson. Riley Allensbach from George Mason. Travion Carson, Jaden Hastings. Eric Mahaffey, the local product from Moeller. Spent his first year at Akron, now finds his way down to UC, plus 3 players who already have experience in Jared Calhoun's system from Utah State. That is a fantastic balance. You have to have a group that has played for a head coach before. Jared Calhoun has that. Much more coverage of the Bearcats on the Rebound Rundown. Stay tuned.
First Word rolls on, the only morning sports show in Cincinnati. Thank you so much for making us part of your day here, 7 to 11. I'm James Rapien alongside Jacob Tissot, and we're joined by Joe Danneman in studio to talk Bengals.
Come on with it.
You ready?
Yeah.
All right.
Let's go.
What surprised you? Were you at the stadium on Tuesday? I figured you were. I've seen a lot of the clips. I couldn't remember if I saw you specifically. I was not there, clearly slacking. What surprised you most Tuesday? Reaction, thought, what stands out the most about T, Jamar, everybody that you talked to?
That they all talked. I didn't think that.
I didn't either.
Jamar would talk.
They all talked.
I didn't think DJ Turner would.
Yep.
But the tone of the room continues to be this vibes are immaculate kind of feeling at Paycor Stadium. And I think those guys wanted to be part of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a big reason why Jamar Chase, I didn't expect Jamar for another week.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's why he's here. I think it's why T's here. I think it's why DJ Turner, even with the contract stuff going on, that they're all here. They all want to be a part of this, that they're feeling, okay, this is different, what we've got now inside this locker room. And I think just getting everybody back in the room together was important for everyone to feel. And I think that matters to them. And I think it matters to the football team to have all these guys there. So the biggest surprise to me was that they all talked. And the biggest surprise wasn't that T. Higgins was pulling the ball off of people's head on the practice field. It's just what he does.
Yeah.
So the fact that DJ and Jamar and T are there, yeah, a little surprised. I was also pleasantly surprised to hear DJ Turner on the way he's handling it, because you think back to Trey Hendrickson in a similar situation, and the way that was handled,
sure,
compared to how DJ Turner seems to be handling his contract situation, breath of fresh air. Was a lot of fun to have all the guys back in the room.
Prediction time.
Okay.
Does DJ get paid before the start of the regular season?
Yes.
I agree.
Yeah, that's my prediction. Yeah, I agree with that. I think you have to. I think you kind of have to. If you're going to do all of this work, all this construction on this roster to change everything, why would you not, flip over that last stone and get that thing done? That has to be done. That, to me, was one of the priorities of the offseason. They've gone above and beyond all the other priorities of trying to fix this defense. Now that you've added all these pieces to make it better, there's this one thing that's saying, fix me, take care of me. Take care of that, and I think you've had a winning offseason. It's already been. You've got the team and the defense right now to go out there and get to where you want to go. But you still have to take care of that one thing. And look, he's not the only one.
No.
We all get it. There are other guys that the Bengals need to address. Chase Brown, Dax Hill, DJ Turner. But DJ has to be the priority here. At the position he plays and the way he played last year, the level he played, lock him up. Take care of it. Get it done.
I'll give Jacob credit. DJ switches his number. First thing you said, he's getting a deal.
Yeah. Right away.
Can you give him 0 and then let him leave? Any factor. You think that's a factor at all?
Oh, I think sure. But I think it's the way the organization looks at him, and you heard the way that Zach Taylor talked about him.
Yeah. No doubt. It's not like I'll add another 0 to the offer.
No, right.
But you don't do that if you think there's
Correct.
a chance you're not going to pay.
Yes, he has reached a certain status in that room where they consider these things, where Zach Taylor allows it. I didn't know Zach was the gatekeeper of numbers. That whole thing to me was a little bit strange.
I don't know
I was
if he
shocked
is.
by that.
I think that Zach just. Yes.
But it goes to Jacob's point about the idea that he's reached a status level inside the locker room, within the organization, that if he makes those kind of requests, they're heard, they're executed. And DJ has talked about this himself, the way he feels about himself in the locker room and within the organization. I remember the last conversation I had with him before he left for the offseason and traveling literally around the world. Yeah. He's been all over the place, and good for him. He should do that. Was him talking about how different he feels about himself in the room, the status he feels of being a guy that other people look up to. And we heard about it, and we talked about it in a lot of conversations that we had with players last year, the idea of where can leadership come from? And a lot of guys kept saying, it's okay if it comes from younger players. It's okay if it comes from guys who aren't quote-unquote star players. DJ Turner is working his way towards becoming that, but he's no longer a young player here in Cincinnati. He's working towards getting his second contract. with the Bengals. And I feel like the status change for DJ Turner, to me, is a signaling point that, yes, the Bengals value him and they want to keep him here in Cincinnati. Now, they've got to invest. They got to put their money where their mouth is. They got to put their money where the status is. And that's what DJ Turner, and I think they will.
Production is obviously of the utmost importance when the Bengals were adding to the defense this year, but you mentioned the leadership. They went out and added 3 marquee leaders to the defense this year. Dexter Lawrence, Jonathan Allen in the defensive line, and Brian Cook in the safety room. How much do those guys already being established in the NFL coming to this locker room, how much does that mean for that side of the ball and the team as a whole?
2 things. The first was, I was so impressed by Dexter Lawrence's first week in Cincinnati. So the trade happens. He comes to Cincinnati on Monday, and he signs the contract extension. And I thought, okay, Dexter's going to go back home, take care of everything he's got to do to move. We'll see him in a couple months when it's mandatory.
Exactly what I thought.
Immediately immersed himself right into everything. The first day, you see him out there sweating. He was late to his press conference because he was lifting weights with his new teammates. That was very impressive to me. Okay, to see a guy of that, again, the word stature and status throw himself into this like he was a rookie, trying to impress people and trying to make a first impression. Good on Dexter Lawrence. I think he checked that box of a guy that they can rely on now, not just to be a monster at his position, but to be someone that they can lean on as an organization to be a difference maker in that room. Secondly, and you mentioned Brian Cook, to me that was the biggest takeaway of Joe Burrow. And we're going to pull out the sentences and the quotes all year long about this being the best roster he's ever been on. The fact he said Super Bowl multiple times. Multiple times when asked about the changes, he said one name first. He said Brian Cook.
With Vanity Fair. Like, then with Jeff Hobson, and then with us. It was like
Brian Cook.
Brian Cook, Brian Cook, Brian Cook.
And so I was like, okay, maybe I need to elevate my expectation on Brian Cook. Because my expectation was, oh, Brian Cook, solid player, good player, has some championship pedigree because he won some rings in Kansas City. But the way they're talking about him and the way Joe Burrow talked about him, because Joe Burrow had gone head-to-head against him, had watched him on film, had studied him on film, had competed against him. Obviously, Joe Burrow had seen something in Brian Cook that wanted him to mention him first instead of talking about Boye Mafe or Dexter Lawrence or Jonathan Allen, all the guys the Bengals had brought in. He mentioned Brian Cook first in several spots. To me, that signals a guy that maybe our expectation on his difference-making ability in Cincinnati should be higher than we thought.
Did you see the Bengals social clip yesterday with Brian Cook?
I did. It was fun.
Barrett Carter jumps in, and we're going to play it on the show tomorrow. It's already on my list of things that, and he's like, oh, he's a leader, and he's just rattling all this stuff off. I saw Brian Cook, and he said, I've said it on the show, it's no news. He's at Geno Stone's old locker. That's Brian Cook's locker. And I was talking with Dax Hill, my first time in the locker room this offseason. And talking with Dax Hill, it's 2 lockers or 3 lockers down from Cook. And they started interacting. And I noticed how they were interacting. And then another guy jumped in. And it felt like Brian Cook had been here for forever. And he just signed a month and a half ago at the time, or 2 months ago at the time. And I was like, oh, noted. He might be impacting the culture and the leadership on that defense. And then Joe says Brian Cook's name 3 times. I think it's a huge factor. And then you have Barrett Carter saying what he's saying, mic'd up, and he's calling everyone over to say hi to their mom. I think you see it. I think they're gravitating toward him. Maybe he put the rings on the table at some point, but I don't think he did. I just think he's like, oh, well, I can lead. I know what it looks like. I know how to do this. And he did that at UC. I'm not sure he had to do that with the Chiefs, but he's certainly capable.
I think he did put the rings on the table. I'll give you an example why. So the night of the draft, the Bengals had a big draft party for the fans, all lined up, ready to go. And then what happens? They trade the pick. So the Bengals start scrambling and say, how can we do good by these fans who are coming to this event? So they decided to bring in all their free agents. Okay, and the crowd goes crazy. And he wasn't a free agent for Dexter Lawrence. When Dexter Lawrence walked into the room and he did his sexy Dexy dance, the place went nuts.
What did he do?
Yeah, I can do the sexy Dexy dance. Just give me a platform. I'll do it right on this table. I was going down the line of talking about these players, and Boye Mafe was standing, and Brian Cook was standing, and I said, you know, you've got Super Bowl champions down there. I said, Boye Mafe's got a ring. Brian Cook's got a ring. He goes, no. He's like, I got 2 rings. Make sure everybody knows I got 2 rings. I'm like, Yes, sir. You got it. But that speaks to
Yes,
a guy that should be proud of what he did, what he's accomplished, and the kind of respect that should get in that room. When you walk in and you've got 2 rings, you should get that respect.
No
you
doubt.
should be talked about it. The Bengals, I believe it was Joe Burrow who said he was the best safety in the free agent market.
And I agree.
The best.
I agree with him.
I didn't know if I did until I heard him say it. And there's a lot of things that Joe Burrow says that I think sometimes are performative to get a reaction.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of football stuff he says that I take seriously. And I say, okay, change my opinion on that. He changed my opinion. My expectations for Brian Cook and what he can bring for this team now are different.
I think the interesting thing is, and we got to get to the Knicks and Spurs in a second, even though everybody is probably not looking forward to it as much as the 3 of us at the table. Nick Scott, we were here for the Nick Scott experience. We were here for the Geno Stone experience. And I mean the initial 2 months. This feels different.
It does.
Everything about it, presence-wise, the way his teammates are talking. Joe Burrow mentioned, that's the comp, and it should. He's paid more, but they're trying to fix the problem. Maybe they did.
And it felt like a dead weight before the season even started last year.
Oh
Can we really take
like
this
a
team?
stone that's going to weigh you down? Yeah.
Can we
miss
really
tackles?
take this team seriously if you're going to be playing him?
I was so annoyed.
And that to me was, it tempered my expectations all year long.
Yes.
That, even if you have the big 3 on offense, even if Chase Burns ascends to the level we see him playing at, especially in the second half of the season, that as long as you're running out what they were running out at that position, they didn't have a ceiling that people thought they might have. That's different. That's changed. And that's why I think this team should be talking about Super Bowls, should have a shot. Get in the tournament and see what happens. And this team, it would be a massive, massive underperformance and disappointment for this team not to be in the NFL playoffs.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And we got to transition now and talk a little NBA. And I don't know where you stand. I haven't asked you about the finals. I know he said Spurs in 5, so he thinks the Spurs are going to
sweep them,
dominate
next
now
4
after the Knicks rise up. I have Knicks in 6. I'm feeling good after game 1.
Yeah, I would be too if I was in your shoes.
Don't come off your take. Stay on your take. That's
on
important.
5?
Stay on 5.
I'm not going to change it now.
Remember when the Warriors lost game 1 to the Celtics in 22 and everybody said, oh my gosh, they won 4 of the next 5. And Steph's pointing at his ring.
I remember. Do I remember?
Let me guess your take is this is an Eastern Conference thing.
It's not an Eastern Conference thing, but I'm more of an overall Knicks hater. I'm a Pacers fan, so that bleeds into this quite a bit.
He's a big Mike Brown fan, too.
So I was, me too. Mike Brown won that game. He outperformed Mitch Johnson because Mitch Johnson has a Terry Francona loyalty problem to De'Aaron Fox.
Stephon
And that's not
Castle,
me.
or Harper not closing that game.
Correct.
Is
And
insane.
that'll be the big change.
Yeah.
Is that, look, De'Aaron Fox doesn't need to be taken off the court. He should still start. But Mitch Johnson has to understand, young coach, figure this out.
Sure.
That you don't have to rely on a guy just because he's older. Your finishing lineup should be hot-handish.
Sure.
You should have 3 or 4 guys.
Because you have
that
all the options.
You know
it's
who
the opposite
they are.
of the Reds bullpen.
But
they
then
have all the options.
If it's Fox, if it's Harper, whatever guy is hot that night, ride that guy. You saw a little bit of it from the Knicks with Landry Shamet was getting extended minutes
Drills
last night.
a couple huge shots.
And that's what he does.
Yes.
And if he does that, you play him a little bit more than you thought you were going to. My thing on the Eastern Conference is this. The Western Conference is so far better than the Eastern Conference. But that doesn't mean NBA championship teams can't come from the East. You can get teams from the East, 2016 Cavs, 2019 Raptors. I challenge you to go back and look at that roster.
I don't want to.
2024 Celtics.
It'll make me so mad that they beat Steph.
They had a good team. But there are teams that can pop up in the Eastern Conference that even though the conference isn't good, and I thought maybe because the Eastern Conference from top to bottom isn't great, it might inflate what we thought of the Knicks and the way they were playing. I still think, and here's my hot take of the day, whoever wins Game 2 wins the NBA Finals. That's it.
I like
That's
that.
it. I think if
Look.
the Spurs win it, they split in New York and they're back on terms with 3 games, with 2 of them at home in 5, 6, and 7. Game 2 to me is going to be the turning point of the series.
I think I completely agree. I think the main question after last night is just going to land on Jalen Brunson. So many questions about and the expectations that the Knicks are going to be healthy all through this series because of the rest. And now Mitch Robinson with the broken hand, and then Jalen Brunson knee and ankle last night. OG Anunoby battling an injury too. They're as banged up as anyone right now.
The Spurs have to make 2 changes, and all your points are correct. But those guys are going to play.
Yeah, right.
And Jalen Brunson, I have no worries about that guy. It was a knee, it was an ankle, and then he was just.
When he got rolled up on knee-wise, I was like,
I thought he was really hurt.
I did too.
I
was like, are you serious? I
thought he re-aggravated whatever he had, and I thought he was, oh my gosh, this is done. I was so
this
disappointed.
This series is going to stink. They're going to get the brooms out. I was going in a bad place. And then he was back 10 minutes later.
2 big changes for Mitch Johnson. Ride the hot hand with their finishing lineup. Don't be loyal to De'Aaron Fox because he's obviously banged up. He's not himself. He didn't look like he was confident in some of his shot making that he usually makes in his sleep. If it's Dylan Harper, so be it. Number 2, they've got to get Victor Wembanyama back on the elbow. Everything he was catching last night was 30 feet from the basket.
Right. I've been telling you, he's 7'7".
Get him on the elbow.
Yes.
That's where he works.
Yes.
That's if you sag off, he pops it. If not, it's one dribble and a finish. That's where the change has to be. For some reason, the Knicks were able to push him in his catches so far away from the basket, it really messed with the Spurs offense. And I was really surprised to see Mitch Johnson not be able to diagnose that on the fly and fix that. That'll be a big change for Game 2.
You've stuck to your take. You're a stick to your take guy. Yesterday at this time, who did you have and how many games?
I think the landing point that most people who watch the NBA were landing on was Spurs in 6.
Yeah.
And
that was
me.
Marisa. Marisa had the same.
I was actually leaning toward. I thought Spurs in 5. I thought it was going to be a very competitive 5.
Yep.
I thought a lot of the games were going to look like that, but I thought the Spurs finishing lineup would do what Jalen Brunson and the Knicks did last night. It went opposite of what I thought in the final couple of minutes. So now the Knicks have my attention. The Knicks are very capable. I always thought they were very capable. I'll stick with the Spurs. I'll stick with the Spurs in 6.
Yeah, I totally get it. The Spurs are scary.
Yeah.
I mean, there were multiple times last night I thought the game was over. I mentioned the Brunson injury. I was like, well, this series is over. It's going to be hard. Hopefully, they're really loyal to De'Aaron Fox. Get Dylan Harper the hell off the court. And the other thing is, Victor, use him like a big man. He doesn't need to be Steph. They use him like Steph sometimes. Hey, take this step back. What are you doing?
And I'm curious of what MSG is going to be because sometimes home court can be difficult on the home team. And New York is going to be rabid. If it's 2-0 or 1-1, they're feeling great about Game 3. And sometimes that home court can start to backfire a little bit when the pressure starts to come on you. I'm not saying it's not an advantage for New York. It obviously is to have that game at MSG. I think it's going to be a great setting. This is going to be as good of a moment, atmosphere setting that the NBA's had since LeBron Steph.
Fair.
No doubt.
Yeah. And what I want, the NBA dream, even if you want the Spurs to win, is Knicks up 3-2 at MSG.
Incredible.
Game 6.
Incredible.
Can Victor get it to a Game 7, get it back to San Antonio? That's what dreams are made of, regardless of which side you're on.
Goosebumps thinking about that.
It
It'd be
would
so
be
much
amazing.
fun. That's what the NBA is about. The NBA is better with the New York Knicks. Okay,
You're right. You're right.
They are better with the
It
New
is.
York Knicks.
I'm not a Knicks fan. It's
being
fun,
in this
though.
position. I'm not a huge Knicks guy, but I like this team. I think they're fun. I really like the roster construction. Even though it's not a deep team, their 5 or 6 guys are tough.
He's Joe Daneman. Check him out. Fox 19, gracious enough to talk NBA, Bengals, Reds. First Word will continue next, right here on The Crown.
Cincinnati, home to more than a dozen Fortune 500 companies. A city where you know someone who knows someone, and you're in business. Every weekday at noon, The Working Lunch brings you headlines from local businesses, along with exclusive interviews with owners and local leaders. East Side, West Side, northern suburbs, downtown over the Rhine, and northern Kentucky. Real conversations, real Cincinnati. The Working Lunch with Jack Crumley, weekdays at noon, only on The Crown.
It's time for another Tissot's Take here on First Word, and Sal Stewart, What a joy it's been to watch him for the Cincinnati Reds in his first full season with the big league club. Such a young player playing a new position at first base. Stewart played 203 games at third base through the Reds minor league system, just 2 at first, and he has been a star over there so far this year. After his historic April, he's been at the front of the NL Rookie of the Year race, battling against other young stars in the National League Central. Moises Ballesteros with the Cubs, Connor Griffin with the Pirates, J.J. Weatherholt with the Cardinals, some of the most exciting young players in all of baseball playing in the National League Central, and Sal Stewart right there at the top. First base, he's been great, but also a serviceable second baseman and third baseman, and hitting phenomenally from the plate. A real threat anywhere he is on the diamond, and someone no pitcher wants to face in the box. Very lucky to have someone this professional at such a young age. You're watching First Word, part of the Crown Network, from 7 to 11 every weekday morning.
Hello, my name is Natalie Jones, and welcome to the Nat Jones Show. After retiring from my 10-year radio career here in Cincinnati, I caught the bug, and I'm happy to bring it here to the Crown. I love captivating people who have captivating stories to tell. And the thing about it is, everybody has a story to tell. All you got to do is empower them to do so. That is exactly what I'm doing here. Because life is better when we all stay curious and we all stay connected.
I'm James Rapien, and this is your First Word Bengals Minute. Joe Burrow is undoubtedly one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. We know that. He knows that. But can he be the best? Well, earlier this offseason, he said he wanted to throw for 48 touchdowns, that it was doable. If he hits that mark, it would give him 205 in his career, which would be #1 all-time, passing Andy Dalton in Bengals history. And that mark is one thing, but becoming the best on the planet is another. And Joe Burrow, for my money, has the chance, has the potential, has the ability to be the best quarterback on the planet, and it's up to him to show it this year. Is 48 touchdowns doable? Absolutely. How about the NFL all-time single-season record at 55 that Peyton Manning set way back in 2013? Joey B, let's see you get that done. For more on the Bengals, make sure you check out First Word every single weekday, 7 to 11, right here on The Crown.
First Word rolls on a Thursday. I'm James Rapien, he's Jacob Tissot, and I gotta be honest, this is the first time we've sat here just us in a while, it feels like.
It's been a minute.
I mean, first it was Brian Giesenthal talking Reds earlier in the show at 8:30. Then we had ESPN's Jeremy Fowler on, and then we have Joe Daneman dropping basketball takes, Reds takes, Bengals takes. We are your morning sports show, Cincinnati. Start your day with us, 7 to 11, every weekday right here on The Crown. You can also, if you missed any of those interviews, check them out. They're going to be on our YouTube page. You like how I direct? Yeah, go to the YouTube, at First Word Cincy. Also check us out wherever you get your podcasts as well, Apple, Spotify, and iHeart, and anywhere.
The other thing I wanted to throw in there today, make sure you go to the First Word Twitter and vote on the daily polls. We're going to post them all there. Need to get the responses up on there. Make sure you're voting on the polls.
Yeah, we want to interact with you.
Of course.
Come on, Cincy. Let's go. We want to interact with you. Not just Cincy. Obviously, anywhere you're watching or listening. We're trying to reach you everywhere. You can listen live on Mixlr every day as well. Let's dive into this. And I think that we heard some Bengals optimism from Joe Daneman. Yeah. Optimistic about them making the playoffs, about them becoming a Super Bowl contender. Well, it's time to do you one better. Kay Adams thinks it's Super Bowl or failure for the 2026 Bengals.
This is the year that the Bengals finish the job. I can see, I can feel the eye rolls from the rest of the AFC and the AFC North, of course. This is the year. I was in Cincinnati this weekend for the Joe Burrow Foundation Golf Invitational. I cannot explain how much different and unique this felt to every other trip I've ever taken to Cincinnati. There is a confidence on this team that permeates through the city and the fan base that it is time. And then they did this sort of asymmetrical vibe of adding as much as they did, taking the big Dexter Lawrence swing in the offseason. Everyone had something big to say about him, that he got there, he signed, and he has been all over. Having that kind of a player feel motivated at his timeline where he is in his career is so rare to do. Since 2022, he's been double teamed more than any other defensive tackle in the business. He's been double teamed at a higher rate than any D tackle in 10-year history of next-gen stats, which is insane. He ranks 7th in pressures over this 4-year span, 3rd in sacks off double teams, 3rd in the league with 9 turnovers forced by pressure. So he's eating up blockers at a higher clip than anybody. He's eating them for lunch. The defense is going to be so much better. I just feel like it's the year. There's questions about every one of these teams. The question on the Bengals is I guess the defense. How good do they have to be when they have Joe Burrow and T. Higgins smiley as ever and Jamar and everyone's aligned? They really think they can win. So I'm feeling the way I felt about the Bills last year, which was you better go win the Super Bowl. If you don't win, it's a failure.
So, 2 things. One, hate that that's how she felt about the Bills. Because there wasn't many times last year I was like, oh yeah, the Bills are going to win it all. No. So there's one. I get the logic though, and I get the elite quarterback, they went in, all those things. Guess what? They fired their head coach. So I get why she was saying it that way and felt that way going into last season. 2, do you buy or sell that it's Super Bowl or failure? Because if it's Joe Burrow and giving up the 10th pick and doing everything they did to improve this roster, I understand the logic with that as well.
I certainly get the sentiment. I do think it's a little bit insane to say a team that missed the playoffs 3 years in a row is Super Bowl or bust. That is a huge, huge gap between missing the playoffs and Super Bowl or bust. Now, I don't think just making the playoffs is going to make it a successful season. I do think they have to win in advance, but I think so much of whether the season is a success or failure is within the outcomes of the games, how it happens in the playoffs. They could lose earlier to specific teams, and maybe it's viewed differently than upset losses or things along those lines. But Super Bowl or bust, I'm not sure I'd go that far, though I do think they're right square back in the middle of the Super Bowl contention conversation.
Yeah, I hope so. I expect that. And here's the thing. I get your logic. If they're there and they're playing Buffalo, or they're playing Kansas City, or they're playing whoever, and they have Joe and Jamar and Dexter and the defense, I'm going to expect them to win. So I understand. Sure. I totally get it.
But failure? It's a big word.
It is a big word. But looking back at 22, doesn't it feel like it was a failure? It's so hard to get there. If you get there, you got to get it done. 21, you got all the way there. And all Quentin Spain had to do was force Aaron Donald inside to Trey Hopkins. And maybe we're having a different conversation, but we're not. It's the reality. I think we'll dive into more Super Bowl or failure tomorrow on this show. But we'll continue and put a bow on the show. Plenty to get to here in our Cincy Sports Forecast next, right here on First Word.
The Crown has you covered. Start your day with the First Word, Cincinnati's only morning sports show. Power through midday with the Working Lunch. Cincinnati business talk that keeps you in the know. Nat tries that for lifestyle around the city, and the Rebound Rundown covers every corner of the college basketball scene in the tri-state and beyond. This is The Crown. Built for Cincinnati. First Word for your morning sports, the Working Lunch for business that hits home. Nat tries that for lifestyle around the city, and Rebound Rundown for college hoops. This city deserves its crown. Watch, listen, subscribe.
Hi, my name is Natalie Jones. Just your typical 40-year-old Cincinnati girl. Although, no, I'm not married or divorced. I don't have any kids, and I don't live in the neighborhood I grew up in, which is the West Side, by the way. But what I do have is a lot of freaking time, and I've been using it well. So come along with me on this grand adventure, because I've been trying all the new around town that you need to know about. This is Nat Tries That.
Paul Fritchner back here for another Rebound Rundown local update, this time for the Xavier Musketeers under second-year head coach Richard Pitino, turning over some of the roster, but not quite as much as last year in his first season when he basically had to put together an entirely new team. He brings back some faces from this past year's team. Jovan Milicevic, the only one who played. Gabe Pizzato, expected to be a key player on this upcoming season's team. He had a torn meniscus. Cason Westball redshirted as well. Jovan Milicevic, a really crucial star player for Xavier, is back. And then they add a couple of SEC starters in Mike Nwoko, the starting center from LSU, Ruben Dominguez, a sharpshooter from Texas A&M, plus Chance Westry, a point guard from UAB, True Washington, who played for Richard Pitino at New Mexico, then went to Miami, Florida. He is back playing for Richard Pitino, a really talented two-way player. A lot of pieces to be excited about on this Xavier team, and you can stay tuned for all of that and more right here on the Rebound Rundown.
My name is Jack Crumley. I've been covering news in Cincinnati on the radio for the last 20 years. I grew up in Northeast Ohio, but Cincinnati has always felt like home since day one. I've seen so many things accomplished here, and now, with the Working Lunch, I get to write, read, and talk about them every day. Hard-working people with a drive and a dream. Innovative ideas that help shape this city. Cincinnati is a great city, and I'm excited to tell you about it every day.
Welcome back to First Word. I'm James Rapien. He is Jacob Tissot, and we are almost done with show number 4. It is flying by, and we got to shout you out. We got to shout you out because you have made it so awesome the first 4 days of this show support. We have over 4,000 subscribers on YouTube. We have thousands watching live on X and also on the Rock Entertainment Sports Network as well. And that's it. Make us part of your day every single morning, 7 to 11, right here on The Crown. There you go. You can watch us on Spectrum, Alta Fiber, over the air, YouTube Live, Mixler Live, and then, of course, on demand, Spotify, Apple, iHeart as well. And CincyCrown.com is a one-stop shop where you'll get all of the links you need to the Nat Jones Show, Rebound Rundown, the Working Lunch with Jack Crumley, which you can catch at noon as well, live on RESN. So yeah, it's week 1 almost in the books. We're gonna have a packed Friday, but really excited. I'm excited, man, because I feel like people love the morning sports, what we're doing, what we're building, and I love that we had Jeremy Fowler on, Brian Giesenslaw on, and I didn't tell him this. I watched him at Fox 19 when he was working with Dave Ashbrook. So I didn't realize Dave was working with him. I remember watching him at Fox 19 when he first got to town 20 plus years ago. And then obviously Joe Daneman having him on earlier this hour. Just huge.
Yeah, awesome. And that's what we set out to do when we planned this show, is to bring those guests on a morning show for the Cincinnati fans that deserve it. So glad to already be delivering in day 4.
We have a special Bengals guest that's supposed to join us live in studio tomorrow. I don't want to say the name and put pressure on him. You got to watch, but don't blink. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be a lot of fun on tomorrow's show. So that is what we call a tease on tomorrow's show. We'll also talk some Reds. We certainly will have some talk some Reds because they lost the series to the Royals. Can they go to St. Louis and get a series?
Feels like a huge weekend series.
Huge weekend at 31-30, going on the road, playing St. Louis, a division rival. You've struggled in division. a lot on the line that we'll get to tomorrow.
Absolutely, and the Reds have struggled immensely in the division. You're not going to have your best horses running in that race, so hopefully they can power through. Some surprise heroes can step up and steal a couple wins at Busch Stadium.
Stanley Cup Game 2, Vegas, Carolina. It's a big one for Carolina. You got to get Vegas. You got to knock after a crazy Game 1, 5-4. Vegas finds a way. Carolina's got to get it done.
9 goals in Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals. What a game to watch. One of the biggest comebacks in Stanley Cup Final history. One of the quickest goals in Stanley Cup Final history. Game 1 had it all. So hopefully the series continues to deliver. I do think Carolina is in the danger zone right now, though. If the Knights get the win tonight, it could be over.
If you missed any of our interviews, make sure you check them out on YouTube. First Word Cincy on socials. And until next time, for the entire First Word team, the Working Lunch with Jack Crumley is at noon. Don't miss that. For Jacob Tissot, I'm James Rapien. Thank you so much for watching and listening to First Word.